Okay. Oh, this is the meow meow one.
Perfect siren, man.
So,
Yay!
what's all this then?
Well, I've got a very special video for us both to watch today, for us all to watch today. What do you
So,
do?
yeah.
What do you do, everybody? Hello, Luke. Hello, Doshin. It's like the olden days, but it's the other side. We used to do it at 11 o'clock in the morning, didn't we? And now we're doing it at 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I've gone to the other end of the clock.
Yes, because it's a very special Mount Narcissist today, everybody. A very special one. As I think you all know, because I've put it on my community post. I'm very excited. Right then. So are we ready for this? Oh, hang on. I need to share my screen, don't I? Where is that again? I've changed it slightly, which was enough to freak me out.
To me, Dawson's asking what does it mean when I say what's all this then? It's a British phrase, basically. it's just a British phrase. What's all this about then? It's just a phrase like saying
It's
what's
like
going on. So let's say what's going on, what are we up to?
Yeah, it's like house tricks. Can you still hear all right? I need to take that. Just a bit. Kids are in bed. See, kids are in bed. So hopefully I can hear you all right. I'll turn it up a little bit more.
And I've got neighbours that hate me.
Is that working? Come on then. Yes. Okay. And here we are. With this, look, who's this? Who have we got here? Look at this, would you? We've got Sam Magnin and the Mountain Man. And the Mountain Man in one video, babe. So here we go. Two great mountains. Look, two great mountains. Look at them. Whoa. Oh, set it going. Here we go then.
Well, let's go for it.
Come on.
Thank you so much for being a part.
Can you turn it up a little bit?
I have done. Hopefully.
Efforts.
Can you hear all right?
I can't hear it too well.
The things that are going on.
Maybe.
I thought that maybe it would be one.
Turn it up on
Oh, we can put
YouTube.
CC on as well. Where's that? Is that on here? Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Um.
They're not perfect, but hopefully.
Hopefully this. See, this can go up.
Yeah.
That'll help. This should be better.
Wonderful way to start it by
Yeah,
starting on
That's okay.
kind of a macro level, and I'll preface that by saying, while I do most of my content creation around Mount Everest and
There's a big
music
crossover.
and things like that, I've had on a number of occasions the late Nathan Schwartz Salant, a Jungian analyst, a brilliant man. And
I missed that one. That's one for us to watch in the future, isn't it?
Things like that, and he enlightened me.
What did he say?
He said he had a Jungian guy on.
Right. Okay.
Past, who I've not heard of, because I'm not well read in all things.
Note his name down then.
I'll be watching this stream again. I'll be
Yeah.
watching this video again. So yes, definitely, and we'll definitely watch that video from the Mountain Man. Right, let's go.
I have heard about it, and the more I see it in the news,
It's everywhere,
and-
mate. It's
and
everywhere.
talked about,
If you want to make
Oh.
a full-time income
fuck
from
off.
Darn
photography,
it!
you
I don't
need
want
to know
that.
this one concept. because
Well, I don't, because if everybody knew it, then they'd be
I've
doing
become
it,
more
wouldn't they?
fascinated in reality, and actually touching my life as well. And so I thought for those
Oh,
people,
was it Luke?
might
Oh, I don't
have
know. Sorry.
What's that?
connections.
Sorry. I think someone said. Oh no, it's okay. Sorry, I'm just
No,
ignoring
you know what? I need my phone because I can look at the chat.
Sorry, I thought someone was talking to me, but they weren't.
I know there's plenty of rumours about me being an alcoholic, but I haven't had a drink for bloody ages, weeks and weeks and weeks. And tonight I cracked a beer.
No, you hardly ever drink since I've known you.
No, well, a bit. I have my times, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
have my
but like,
me and you have had a couple of times.
yeah, but since I've known you, like, you're not a drinker. Like, I don't see you as that at all. You're just like
Last time I
normal.
met you,
normal.
we had one beer. I had one beer, didn't I? Because I was coming down with that cold.
Yeah,
And I
the
was
one that I got.
beer.
You mean the one that I ended up with? That wasn't a cold. That was horrible flu.
The one I passed on to you guys.
No, it was bastard flu.
Yeah, it was awful. Wasn't it, that? So I was just nursing this can all night, just trying to get drunk. And I was on the whiskey though, weren't I, that night? But yeah. Just a nice whiskey. Oh, anyway, let's go.
To the actual term or what it means, maybe you could start kind of like hold our hands as a kindergartner, like what is it? What is it? And I know that you were at the groundbreaking of this and started many of the terms that are used today. So I'd kind of like to hear that from you if you're okay with that.
No, of course. Thank you for having me and on such a short notice. I know that it's one day to the next. I actually quote Schwarzschild in my work, in my book, and so on and so forth. I highly value his work. I think he had inordinate insights into the soul of the narcissist. We don't use the word soul in psychology, but I think it's apt in this case. Narcissism is a disruption in the formation of the self. In early childhood, usually prior to age 36 months, we are all very busy becoming. We're all very busy forming ourselves. We're all very busy emanating, if you wish. We are born as a bit of a raw material with a few templates, like the language template and others.
A blank slate besides that.
Yes. We're going to have to do some commentary on this, but I don't know how we're going to do it.
I'll just interrupt you now and again like I always do.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we need. Otherwise, it's going to be straight up copying, and we can't do that.
No.
But normally we've got some like cross-referencing or something, because I'm always cross-referencing the mountain stuff with the narcissism, and so this is like together. So like, how do we cross-reference this? We can't. They're doing it.
I mean, we can obviously interject like we're allowed to because we're not in their conversation.
Yeah. What I will interject is a little bit about the Blue Tent universe, which you know about. Yeah. And when he said the thing about it affects like damages or it disintegrates or whatever it was, the self at that point. That's kind of like what that picture's about. So
what he's saying is that narcissism actually I don't know if that's in every case, but certainly in some cases narcissism is something that develops like at 36 months onwards. So I don't think that can be said for absolutely every case, but certainly in many cases it's early development. It's early development, and basically the brain doesn't, you don't develop properly, like with any kind of personality disorder and anything like that.
What happened to you? Exactly, mate. Exactly. What happened to all these people? What happened to them? That's the question. That's the Sherlock Holmes, isn't it? That's the interest. This is alt sniffing. I love a bit of alt sniffing, but that's what this is, but to a really deep degree. And the way I saw this, how long ago was it we were doing the Blue Tent Universe? I don't even know.
Gosh, it was well over a year ago now, maybe 2 years ago.
Years, maybe a year and a half. It was like at Christmas when.
Yeah.
But I just had my own vision that I got through talking, like doing my thing, and then putting my energy into like my inputs into the AI, and the AI would give me stuff back, and it would give me inspiration. I was having this like conversation. It was like not like, oh, I was talking to the AI, but it was like with myself. It was almost like doing the tarot. But yes, in my story, to cut a long story short, part of it is in the interdimensional part is that they go up to a mountain, they go up the top of Mount Everest in this story, because I had to put Mount Everest into it. But to cut a long story short, there's multidimensional beings, and this is the Gaian, the integral Gaian side is the Jollibees, right? Don't ask why, but you find out. There's a story.
Took me ages to understand all of this.
There's various versions of Jollibee, and this is the when the Jollibee gets turned into the corrupted Jollibee, which I don't think it's a good word for it, a name for it actually. I think I'll have to find a different name for it, because it's not corrupted, because it's just different, but it isn't a human thing. It isn't like a Gaian thing anymore.
So this is what you're explaining is your Blue Tent universe, which was your creation, basically.
Which was inspired by my cross-referencing of this part of the story was inspired by the cross-referencing of the narcissism stuff with the Mount Everest stuff, with the Blue Tents, and with the AI as well.
So,
and the thing about
and although I'm sure everyone here knows, but the reason that we talk about Mount Everest and this guy's talking about it is because it's not in every case, but there's the kind of mind that wants to do that. Not every time, because of course you've got people that do it for self-empowerment and do it for positive reasons. Then you've got the other side that does it for basically to get validation from other people and to appear like they've got, so that they feel like better than other people, and so they do it purely for like narcissistic reasons and for self-centered reasons, and they don't give a flying fuck. They don't give a flying fuck about the things that go on around it, or the bigger picture and the consequences of doing that kind of tourism.
Yeah, and the actual examples of people just walking past people who were dying, who died,
stepping over.
Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, because they've just decided that that's the way it is, and that's easier to do. That's just the way of the mountain now.
So
that's
do you
just
think
that came up with that.
Do you think that because of the way some people are quite narcissistic in those situations, that a lot of people around them end up just acting the same way because they think it's normal?
This is the point of it, because this is where I've got to with it. So what you're saying as well, but there's many layers to it. And this part of it, which is in this picture, is that as you go up that mountain, you touch space. You're getting less friction, less Gaian friction, less humanity. The blue tents creep down the mountain, and it comes from space. I mean, this is not like obviously what's happening, but if in like a crazy ass fucking broken analogy that I've come up with in my stone brain, it comes down the mountain. It comes down the mountain, and it infects, and it's psychopathy. You know, the blue Teletubbies represent psychopathy pretty much.
Okay.
Because,
narcissism and psychopathy aren't exactly the same thing, but like sometimes
when it comes to the mountain,
there are psychopaths that have narcissistic personality disorder and vice versa, but they're not exactly the same thing. But they have a lot of similar traits.
Yeah, the thing is with this is that it's to do with the harsh environment. So, and that can go into our normal lives and having a harsh life and all the rest of it. So it's like, and also the fact that we are becoming less less human environment. You know, some people spend all day just on the internet. That is not as human as it used to be. So it's like we're all, in a sense, quote unquote, touching space in that sense. It's all confused in my head. But the reason I mentioned the psychopathy is because maybe you have to be a psychopath to be able to survive such an extreme experience as going up that mountain into the death zone. The death zone, that's where psychopaths live, in the death zone, isn't it? So there's just a lot connected up in my head. But that's what that made me think of when you were saying about the personality being affected, because in this thing, there's a whole interdimensional being which is being affected by another set of interdimensional beings. So anyway, I'll stop boring you about that, but, you know, it gives us something else. Have you got anything to put on about what you're saying?
No, go for it. Oh no, I do actually. Someone, Darshan was just saying that I put you in your place. I'm just saying no. I'm just adding to the conversation. I'm not trying to say that someone else was wrong. I'm just pointing something else out. So it's a collaboration of views, and
he can't see it. He can't see it by his own standards. I think, you know, he's got his own Mount Everest to climb, this one, and he's obviously, he is in the psychopath state. You know, he's in some sort of focused. God knows what's going on with you, Darshan. I think you flew off the top. You know,
let's move on with the video.
As Red Bull said, this dude is in orbit, mate. He's in orbit. He's come off the top of that mountain and he's in orbit, miles and miles around.
Okay.
So he's a different.
Let's not single people out right now.
He wants me to single him out. Anyway.
Let's watch the video though.
Oh, yeah, so let's take him off. Okay. Oh, am I? No, I'm not sharing it again.
Oh no, where is it?
Oh, yeah. There it is. No, is it?
No, it's done.
I thought it was easy. I thought you could go back. No, it should be there. Oh, I think I just have to remove. I'm going. Oh, there we are.
Technical.
There we are. Okay.
We gather cues from the environment, information, stimuli. Our relationship with mother is very crucial. A maternal figure, actually, doesn't have to be a mother. Anyone who fulfills maternal function is very crucial. And then we begin to notice that we are not the world, unlike the song. Yeah, we are not the world, and that we are not mother, and that we are not. The initial impulse to become ourselves is via negation. We negate the world. We don't say we are, but we say, hey, we are not. We are not mother. We are not the world. In essence, identity is the same.
On his face is funny.
Which one? Whose face?
Mountain.
Taking it in, and taking it all in.
He's taking it in.
Mountain pose as well. I love the mountain man. I love him. I love them both. My two favourite people. It's so good. Well, actually, my three favourite people, Lima, because you're in there as well. This is great. What were they on about a minute? I had something that reminded me of that. I'm reticent to do this, but at least I'm not doing it with sausage fingers this time.
We negate the world.
Yes.
We don't say we are.
That's right. So another tangent, but there's a guy, I've forgotten his blooming name, but he did the research on Lord Palenque. You know, the guy, they've got that, and there's all those hieroglyph type things of him in a spaceship.
I'm not sure.
At Palenque. It's all to do with oh man, it's that the feathered thing. I forgot what it's called. I've still got a bit of concussion. That's my excuse. But what he said, Maurice Cotterell, that was the name of the guy with the book, and he said that humans are more conditioned to notice what isn't there than what is there, and that is the key to how those tablets are read. You
mean in the way of trying to fill in gaps, like, you know, how we end up believing in a lot of things that might not be real because we're trying to fill in gaps where they're not. We try to fill in the spaces.
You know,
do you mean like that? We're just trying to fill in the gaps where we're not. That's how we make sense of things.
Yeah.
And also, so often it ends up getting filled with bollocks.
Well, like, if you're supposed to be, I don't know what it is. It could be evolutionary, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're looking for patterns, and obviously the patterns are always there
Yeah,
as a baby.
obviously we look for patterns and
It
things.
might be easier to notice when that pattern isn't there anymore. It might just be an easier function of that body, that brain, that type of brain. And it's just, it was interesting because the way they lined up those tablets to read like ancient stories and things that they were trying to, like, really complex stories and ideas that they were trying to like pass on through like the eons, and the way they did it was by cutting off parts of these tablets, so you could basically take copies of the images and move them around following the key, the map that is given just by these little bits being cut off these, because you notice where the bits are missing on that tablet because it's a uniform shape if it wasn't for that. So I just thought that was just an interesting, it just popped up in my head.
But we say, hey, we are not mother, we are not the world. In essence, identity and the self are negative formations. They are about exclusion, not inclusion. Initially, who you truly are is a mystery to you, definitely until well into late adolescence. But who you are not becomes very clear by age 3.
Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm pen and paper guy, and I'm
pen and paper guy.
I'm glad I'm not pen and paper guy.
Don't suck on a biro.
You know, if someone interrupts this process, indeed, Sam, indeed, like Mr. Pen and Paper. How rude of him.
Go and suck on a biro.
If your mother is emotionally absent, depressive, narcissistic, egotistic, and selfish, psychopathic, neglectful, overprotective, you name it. If the parents get parenting wrong, then there is a perturbation, there is a disruption in the formation of the self.
Perturbed Jollibee. Maybe that's better than the corrupted Jollibee.
Is an individual who is, ironically, selfless. It's someone without a self. Now, that has massive implications, massive lifelong implications, because if you don't have a self, you don't possess a self, a functional.
Borrow other people's selves.
You're unable to tell other people apart. You don't have clear boundaries. This is where I stop and you begin. This is where you stop. You cease to be and I begin. These are boundaries. If you don't have a self, you don't have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, you are unable to tell that other people are separate and external to you. You begin to perceive other people as internal objects, as manifestations, if you wish, as figures of your mind and your imagination. And then if you are unable to perceive other people as not
things that you can own.
Yep, and you can rewrite it then.
Things that you can own and things that you can control, and not things that have their own free will, sort of thing.
Exactly. And then when they go against your expectations, if you've got just a child's deep down, just a child that's never pulled it together, you know what I mean?
Well, also they do become masters of, I'm talking more people that are really quite extreme with it, because there are different levels. It's not black and white. There are different levels of every kind of personality disorder. It's not black and white. You're not a psychopath or not. There's always many different levels. And so some people master the art of kind of mimicking other people, especially with psychopathy, not necessarily with narcissism so much.
Oh mate, I've seen it all with the narc, mate. I'm sorry. With
the person that I dated previously, or over 10 years ago now, but that person was able to just learn everything about you and mimic emotions, and was very believable.
Oh yeah, well that was what happened to me with mine.
He was void of personality, but the personality that I believed existed wasn't actually real.
Exactly. Well, that was evil. That's what happened with evil. He's just reading a script.
The problem is when we encounter one of those people, we're vulnerable to it happening again, because we're people with compassion are vulnerable to those kinds of people. We're the perfect victim for that kind of behaviour.
It's not just that, because that is kind of like you know what I mean? Which we're not, because I think, you know,
of
we
course not.
written
Of course
saying,
not,
don't
but
we?
we're definitely easily more pliable and
Well,
easily
if
more
you,
easily to get to. We're perfect targets, whereas everyone
this
else
is it.
will get lied to, but a lot of other people will see it.
Exactly. Well, I got warned off quite a few of these narcs who I'm dealing with now, and I'm now the one doing the warning, and I'm now getting the pushback that I once gave, you know, which is really interesting. But it's also that they can spot a mark a mile off. So if they see someone who needs something, you know, they could tell that maybe there's something in you that's empty. But remember, these people, if they've been sort of stunted and separated themselves off at some level, like before 36 months, then they've got all that extra energy and runtime to put into other stuff and to become absolute masters in the mimicry and all the other defense mechanisms that they can put all their points into, because they're not putting it into growth, empathy, understanding, or any of that stuff. They're not putting it into that. They're just putting their head in the ground and putting it all into other stuff. So they are going to have it over us every single time. But at the same time, they've obviously seen something in us which they either want, but also they know they can get it, because as we know, they're not strong people. They're not strong people, so they're going for a weak target, or what they perceive to be a weak target each time.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes from.
Luke says quite exactly right.
Yeah,
he says quite rightly that we overlook a lot of things because we see the good in people, or we see through the bad rather as well. So we see that they have damage and there's issues there, but we always try to you know, because we understand, you know, everybody's got lots of people have got damage and lots of people have got issues, and we're like, oh, but there's a good person in there, or we try to push aside those things and try to overlook them because we're always trying to see the good in someone, and sometimes it's simply not there.
Well, and in my case with Evil, it was like, it was there. I saw him. I did see him, and he's whatever he was before he killed himself off and turned into what he is now. He was a very, very beautiful person. There's a beautiful soul in there, and it's sad what you see that people are like, but there's nothing you can do for them.
No, there's not. No, absolutely not. Nothing at all.
You can't see it. Their like sensory perception has been altered. You know, at that point, it's like.
Can we clarify that we're not actually diagnosing Darshan, because he's now asking what level of psycho he is?
Yeah, mate.
Come on, we're not. That's not what. We're not diagnosing him. Come on.
It weren't me who diagnosed Darshan. It was Red Bull, and he's diagnosed that it's life on Mars with you, mate. And that's when I go.
We're not diagnosing anybody.
My diagnosis is life on Mars. Yeah, Vault warned me about Evil. Everyone warned me about Evil, didn't they? But mainly people were warning me about Curia. And you know, I've got a video to make about all that, and I would talk about it now, but I'm still thinking about it. And it's actually based on something that Sam's actually put out. And it's like, how can a narcissist not see why does a narcissist not? It was something like, why does a narcissist not see that they're doing it? How do they not see that? It's a lot more complicated than that, but.
I've always been intrigued by that. Like, do they see any of it? I think that in some cases, some people are able to self-reflect, and I don't. You know, I've never sat down and had a chat with. I've never had a chat.
Mate, but I think he's, because of his drinking, and this is just one case study. Do you know what I mean?
I think there are many people that have sociopathy and other types of extreme sort of personality disorders that do have self-awareness and are aware of those issues. Maybe some don't. I think that's true of every person generally. Some people are self-aware and some people aren't.
Yeah, and it's a spectrum again, isn't it? Because it's like that thing about you can only have a little bit of information is like can be a real dangerous thing. So if you're a little bit aware and you think you're fully aware, then you're kind of worse off, aren't you, than you were if you were completely unaware. I don't know. But you know, if you stop somewhere, if you just do a little bit and then you don't carry on growing, you just, oh right, I know everything now. I know what I'm on about. I know I'm better than everyone else.
I think we spoke about that recently. Just like the ability to self-reflect and then grow and change in response to that. Some people.
Growth is life, and as soon as you stop growing, you're in the death zone. and then that's getting into the psychopathy world, isn't it? Because
some people are simply stunted and refuse to grow and change, and I think it's also possible for people with sociopathy to grow, sociopathy to grow and change as well. But I'd love to sit down with someone that wasn't my ex and have a conversation about, you know, living with that that personality disorder. But as a result of being with somebody that had narcissistic personality disorder and antisocial personality disorder, I tend to keep away from those people in my personal life.
It's enough for your online life.
I know. But I mean, it would be interesting to sit down with someone that did have some kind of self-reflection and to have a conversation about that. It would be interesting to hear their input on that.
It would, wouldn't it? I think they're probably quite few and far between, those people, because of, like what I say, it's like once you've got that little bit of information, that's enough for them, and then they think they just know it all, and it's like, well, that's cool. It's not me just going, oh, they think you know it all. I'm not saying that. It's like, once you think you know it all, what's left, and what sort of a conversation can you have with someone like that? And so if you've got those sociopathic or narcissistic, well, shall I say, PTSD-based defensive tendencies, then there's going to be a barrier almost potentially, you know, once you're like, well, I've done my bit, I've read my book, and now I know everything I'm going to tell you that. So it's like there's going to be I think it's quite rare for someone with those personality conditions, if they're extreme.
There was a book I saw in a shop when I was traveling the other day that I noticed somebody, it was like Confessions of a Sociopath. I'd be interested to read that, actually. Yeah.
Okay, I will. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. We should do a book club or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be
recommend
good,
book, and I'd do it. I'll read it with, and you can read it. We can have a little.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it? I'll go with what Volp's saying here, because he's saying it's a bit dismissive to say everyone warned me about evil. Right, okay. So you did more than most, right? And you did it properly. And he was literally, honestly, in my comments going, "Don't you dare give him any money." It was brilliant. It was the most accessible and the most relatable advice was from Volp, because he was just like, "Oh, if I can't get through to you any other way, just don't send him any money."
Right.
But he was trying so he was like, "He's a creep, he's a piece of shit." And,
it's funny how some people can see something when you can't necessarily. I remember a lot of my friends were warning me about this person, and I simply refused to see it, like, for so long. And then when it all started to get very nasty, like in a physical way, I felt like, it took me a long time to still use the word sociopath, because I was so in denial about it. And I was so like, oh, this, I watched true crime and stuff. I was like, this seems to, and I know how prevalent like psychopathy is. It's actually quite prevalent, but I refused to see it because it seemed like too much of a big word, and especially with the word narcissist being kind of a buzzword in social media these days. Everybody's a narcissist now, So that it seemed like too much of a big word to be the reality of it seemed like it was too big for it to be the reality of the situation. So it took me a long time to actually accept that I was dealing with a real life sociopath.
Yeah, well, it turns out that those videos that Sam Vaknin were putting out, do you know what I mean? They were the ones that as it grew on me, and they were the ones about the people I was talking to, and they were the specifically for, like I say, the one for the guy who I'm talking about at the moment, the LOL guy. Like that video that I linked in that video is specifically that came out at the same time as he turned up when he was the robot guy. Do you remember the robot fella? Do you remember that robot fella? Remember George Taylor?
I'm not sure. What I remember
George Taylor. Do you remember that scene when we were like, "Hello, George"? Do you remember that?
Oh yes, of course I do. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, they were the guys who were coming on and warning me about the robot man. Yeah, but that's the guy who I was saying, "Oh, there's all sorts of shit going off at the moment, but I haven't told you about it." That's him, right? So I'm kind of talking about him at the moment, but like. With him, I had a bit more of an understanding, but I still wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he was very adept at using his victimhood and kind of twisting it up. So it was like, the more that people kind of were like, this guy's a prick, the more I was like, oh my God, everyone's attacking him, it's awful. And he just had the right answer. He had the right words. He knew exactly his pathetic tone of voice. He knew that was a soft touch. He knew I was a fucking soft touch. And I just felt sorry for him more than anything else. because obviously I still loved evil anyway. So it was just this, but he was just like, I love you, and it was just to get in and stuff like that. Anyway, but the thing was, with that I had a bit more understanding of it, but with the one before, it was the same as you. I remember the first time I saw a picture of evil, and what I did know about narcissism, which is not much, but I did know that, you know, they love the face jewelry, they love it. And the picture I got of evil, he was wearing a hat and sunglasses indoors. And I was like, when it came up, I was like, don't be a narc, please don't be a narc. And then I just would not admit it to myself. I was like, it's like that thing. It's like, it's just a bit dirty. It's still good. It's just fallen down the hill a bit. It's still good. It was like that.
Yeah.
And then eventually you stop comparing, don't you? Eventually you like reach around looking for other things. Like, so there were some other videos, like the bit about the histrionic and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh no, he might just be a little bit histrionic. That's all he is.
A little bit histrionic.
Oh, I can handle a histrionic. It's fine, me and him, you know. But yeah. he came out in the end. I think he was trying really hard not to be like, but he knew it was going to happen, and he just didn't. But when he did go full narc, it was explosive and it was ridiculous.
I think it's possible. It sounds like possibly something like borderline personality disorder, where there's a lot of those people are very mercurial and.
I don't know. Yeah, it could be.
One end of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah. All I know is
once again, I hesitate to diagnose anybody.
Yeah, I'm not diagnosing him. I'm just saying.
Anyway, I read a lot about it, and I've had experience with it in my personal life, but I'm not in any way professional. So please don't anyone think I'm trying to say that someone is, has a certain type of brain chemistry when I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All I can go on is their actions, and so it's like the thing is like don't hate the person, hate the action, and that's kind of where I go with it. You know what I mean? It's like there's no point. It's not because I'm a better person or because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm bad, I never hate the person, hate the action, but it's like it's just practical. And if you've got a load of people coming at you, you want to be looking at their fucking actions and what guides it, and maybe understand their motivations by understanding them a little bit. But it doesn't mean you hate the person. It doesn't mean that you've got anything against that person, really. I've got issue with their fucking actions. I feel sorry for them that they can't stop doing it. You know, that's it. And I like to take the piss sometimes because I'm not perfect. And I will get mine back. Thank you very much.
And external to you, you begin to perceive other people as internal objects, as manifestations, if you wish, as figments of your mind and your imagination. And then if you are unable to perceive other people as not you, then of course this would incapacitate you as far as empathy. You won't be able to develop empathy, because empathy requires the recognition of the other as an other, as not you. So it's a cascade. No self, no boundaries, treating other people as extensions or internal objects, no empathy, and then exploitativeness, abuse, because there's no empathy, some autistic features, inability to interpret social cues and emotional cues appropriately, lack of access to positive emotions, because positive emotions have been associated with hurt, with pain. The first love object, the mother in this case, has been frustrating and neglectful, or overpowering, domineering, or whatever. So it's associated with pain or unpleasant emotional effects, emotional outcomes, and so on. So here, by the end, you see the narcissist emerging fully, like Botticelli's Venus, emerging fully, because from the single assumption,
less attractive,
psychodynamic fact, that there is a missing self. Instead of the self, what we do have is what we call the empty schizoid core.
Breaking news, a whistleblower reveals a
Hey guys!
scheme
Hey guys! Breaking news!
It's a howling void. It's a black hole. It's an emptiness. And it tends to feed on other people. Because the only way for the narcissist to experience his or her own existence, to regulate his or her sense of self-worth, to somehow convince himself or herself that the fantasy is a reality. The fantasy is the main defense mechanism in narcissism. Because reality is too much. Reality is intolerable, unbearable. So, but then you have to convince yourself that your fantasy is not a fantasy, it's a reality. Your fantasy about yourself, that's the grandiosity. So you have to convince yourself that you are justly grandiose, that your grandiosity is justified. And you have to convince yourself that the alternative reality that you had constructed in order to avoid the real McCoy, that alternative reality is actually true. So then you start to coerce people around you to recruit them into the shared fantasy and then to impose on them your will and wish.
Private streams, anybody? Private streams where you're not allowed on, where they'll put your face on the stream. They put Albert's face on the stream. They put Dorshin's face on the stream. They put Dean's face. None of us were allowed to go on. I said to them over and over again, if you have got a problem, address me on a panel. But no, they needed the shared fantasy, the convincing voice. You just have to listen to Evil and Ricardo to hear the convincing voice.
You want them to lie to you. You want them to deceive you.
Yes, this is what we were talking about. Look, Lima, you want them to lie to you. You want them to deceive you and tell you that.
Yourself, this repository.
Do you know what I mean? Do you think that's what you think about that?
I want them to lie to me.
Like when you were saying about your ex, and it's really hard, and you don't want to know.
Well, I mean, I didn't want him to lie to me. No, I feel like no. I always want the truth, actually, but I was in denial. I was not lying, or nobody was. He was lying about the reality, but I was in denial. So it wasn't really that I wanted anybody to lie to me. In fact, quite the opposite for me.
Yeah, that's what I think. Like in my front of my head, I wouldn't have wanted anyone to lie to me. But there must have been a part of me that knew that
especially
he was.
when I was physically in danger. Like, no, I didn't want. I didn't need. I was actually trying to deal with making sure that I was safe. So I needed him. I needed truth because I was relying on counseling, therapy, and medication in order for him to be trustworthy. And he lied about all of that. So I would say no. For me, no. But maybe in other cases, perhaps.
That sounds so shit. Yeah, because the last thing you need is lies under those circumstances.
No, I only stayed because I thought that he was telling the truth about him getting a lot of help in order to get through what. At the time, I hadn't realised the extent of the problem.
Yeah, I think I would say I didn't want him to lie to me, but I wanted to believe him. I really wanted to believe him. I wanted to, like, it'd be like he'd be so horrible or really, really horrible. But like in a sort of bantery way, but it was just like a little bit extra biting, and he was doing stuff like just openly, just so many manipulations. I'm not going to go into it necessarily in this because that's for another time, but just that manipulation and stuff. And then even then after all that, it'd be like he'd just ring me up with like a nice voice, and it'd all be not that I'd even hold it against him ever, because what was the point? There's no point in that. But I was trying, and I'd said to him, I know that you're struggling with stuff, with this narc. I didn't say anything about narc stuff or anything, but I was just like, he knew that I was looking at the psychology, and I was like, I know that you struggle. I know that you're not perfect. And I was like, and we don't have to do anything. You don't have to be this big relationship or anything. I just want to be your friend. I was just like, I just want to help you through it. I was like, even if we don't talk for ages, you just know that I'm here to just not just like. So I said it was like the two balloons holding each other, like being tied together to help each other go higher. You know what I mean? It was like that,
Right.
and that's how my sort of fictional, romanticized version of it that I wanted to believe. You know what I mean? So anything that he would say then, which would add to that, would help me, and therefore I would go with it. Do you know what I mean? So if he rang me up and was just super nice, I would. Like the night he rang me up after he'd like ignored me forever and ever and ever, just to bitch about Ricardo for 8 hours solid, till I was falling asleep on the phone, and I was just sat there going with it. And then the next day he started his campaign with Ricardo against me, maybe like a couple of days afterwards. And I just sat there, and I remember being absolutely knackered and just sitting listening to this drunk person going on and on and on, pretty much like I'm going on and on and on now. And I was falling asleep, and I never said, just like, shut the fuck up, you're not bed. I'm going to bed, because I just wanted to listen to him.
Yeah.
Because I was just so fucking my brain, I don't know, like such an idiot, I suppose. Such a bloody idiot.
I mean, you can't. No, I don't think so. You can't call yourself an idiot. We just simply don't see things or we don't always see these things. These people are very good at.
It's just defensive. It's defensive. You've got to be good, aren't you?
At the same time, these people are absolute magicians at pretending to be something that they're not. So don't ever think that you're an idiot for, like, you know, I have come across a few people that are like that, and that have tried to get into my life in a bad way, and they're just masters of you know, disguise. Can I just point out, because I know I keep seeing allegedly and things like that, the reason that I'm careful of throwing around diagnostic terms is because of the way, not just personality disorders, but other types of mental health and things like that, other people will abuse it. Even if someone's a massive wanker, which we know the person that we're talking about in the chat is also a massive wanker. But
we're talking about
no.
He is a massive wanker.
I'm not picking on anybody in the chat, but Q, for example, I'm very hesitant to use words like psycho and things like that, purely because I've got, you know, having you know this, you've worked with people like that. When there's so much stigma around things like mental health, and also personality disorders and things, I'm careful to use those terms, just because then other people will abuse it. So
we were talking about that, weren't we, last time?
Yeah, exactly. So even if someone is a massive wanker or something, we can call them a massive wanker. And so we can say that they act like a psycho, but I would be careful not to use, like, you know, just because other people abuse it. You know, we know what we mean, but at the same time, other people then abuse it, and then I think it's just, I've seen too many people get hurt because of bad words like that, where people abusing words and labeling people. I do it all the time. I'll be honest. I
no, you're right. It's a good point. It's a good point. Well made.
I've been guilty of going, "You fucking psycho" and things like that. When you know, I do it all the time in certain circles. So I'm guilty of it as well. I'm just cautious to do it.
No, I think it's fair. It's a fair point. And there's
when I'm in a public space, I just want to be. I'll do it among friends, probably. I will admit that I do, but I'm just cautious about doing it in a public space, just because of the stigma that's attached to these things. So that's. I just wanted to point out why I was saying that in the chat. That's all. I keep going allegedly.
I do get it, but this is kind of like between mates as well, though. As well, I'm not discounting what you said now, but I think
between us, it is, yeah.
You've got a good point there, and there was a video by Sam Vaknin, I think it was, or someone else, I'm not sure. I think it was Sam Vaknin. He was talking about, like, you know, you use that terminology, and even if they're not, they're going to start acting like that because you've told them they are one. So they're just going to do that. Then they're like, well, you've already made your judgment, so I may as well be one.
Oh no, that was a different thing. I've just remembered that I said something about how the way people, if you start talking about someone in a certain way, people will remember you by that thing that you said. That was just a different type of psychology. It was a different type of psychology, but it was if you start calling someone, like, and if it's not true, if it's not truthful, and you start being a bitch about someone, and being that, people will remember you as that thing.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, with me, I actually couldn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, but also, but you don't make up things. You know, we're not making up things about people.
But people will believe it because it's like these guys acted like psycho girlfriends. Even like people who weren't, like, look at Ricardo. He turned up a year or so later after it had all happened. Yeah. And he was the psycho girlfriend, but everyone will see me as the psycho girlfriend, and I was the one who was always, I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? Right. I was away on holiday, but they remember me being there kicking off.
And I think the online thing, creates a whole different level of that, because you only have you don't have too many. It's impossible to create lots of dimensions of yourself through the internet. You're less multidimensional when you're on the internet. People only see part of you.
Totally flatland. But hey up, Lewis. Nice to see
Lewis.
you. It's been a while. It's been a while. Good to see you. Good to see you up and going with your 2 live show. Excellent. I'll have to sub to you. I haven't seen it yet, so I will. But I'll put this back on. Have I took the thing off? Oh, it's here. Huh. Right.
Of grandiose, fantastic, inflated self-concept. This false self, you want them to tell you is not false, is true, and you want them to tell you that your fantasy has all the hallmarks of reality, and therefore is indistinguishable from reality, and therefore is reality. And then they should deny themselves, they should suspend their judgment, they should lie to you, and they should lie to themselves. They should cease to become who they are. You take away their identity. They become indeed zombified extensions of you, of the narcissist. It's a sequence, and it's an inevitable, ineluctable sequence, and it is an inexorable sequence. You can't divorce one of the elements. You can't isolate one of the elements. You can't treat any single element, because they are all intricately and intimately interconnected. They all lead to each other. And this evolution is inevitable and inexorable, as I said. Unstoppable. It's an unstoppable machine in which the narcissist is the main victim. The narcissist is caught in this unfolding plot.
Aye.
The narcissist feels derealized, unreal. The narcissist feels that he's in some kind of movie, some kind of theater production. It's some kind of Truman Show. But he can do nothing for himself or for others. And he has to make use of others. He's forced to abuse others. Because the fantasy is the primal force in narcissism. And it is the fantasy that molds the narcissist.
Can I just add something, actually? People have expressed, that they're sorry for what happened to me. I must add that it was shit, but at the same time I learned a lot from that experience, so I wouldn't actually take it back. I'm now able to understand what it's like to be in that situation, and what it's like to encounter someone in that situation. So it was really awful. I'm not going to say that, but I don't know if I would take it back, because it means that I'm able to understand those sort of interactions with other people, like abusive situations, and I didn't have that perspective before, and I do now. So it was awful, but it's given me knowledge and experience that I didn't have before. Okay, go on.
Who's saying they're sorry things happened to you? Because that's maybe someone who I can't see.
I think I appreciate that, but
nothing here, is a
but again, it is an experience that I couldn't, I can't.
You wouldn't be here without it.
It's invaluable, actually. I wouldn't have asked for it either. But I think you can either wear it as a scar, or you can use it to become like a knowledge and experience.
Strengthen your bones with it a bit, innit?
Yeah.
It makes you who you are, and you wouldn't be. It's hardcore mode, innit? Do you know what I mean? You've got to do it hardcore mode, or it's just boring. Do you want us on a survival world forever? I mean, not so creative world, but at least go survival and then hardcore. That's how you learn.
It certainly is a type of survival, learning from something, but also it's growth as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Like if you're in creative in Minecraft,
people that walk around going like
monsters. You turn off monsters and day and night on Minecraft.
You know what I mean?
Well, you like, basically, that's the world that is being sold to the youth of today, isn't it? It's like, no one's going to offend you. You don't have to look at anything. You don't have to read anything. We're going to tell you exactly what you want to watch. Netflix has got it all lined up for you. You don't even have to choose what to watch. You know what I mean? It's
Boring.
creative. Everyone's creative world, aren't they? Creative mode with no night or day and no mobs. And that's why I like this place, because you've got to go and fucking hunt out the mobs these days. And we're in a cave with the mobs now in this place. And the mobs are great. Apart from
Drives the
Doshin.
narcissist to co-opt and to recruit and to take over, a hostile takeover of other people. And so it is like ripples in a pond. There is the initial stone, the destruction of the self, and then you have concentric waves which consume larger and larger, greater and greater number of people.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a nation state in some cases. It could be a whole continent.
Yes. Yes. As above, so below.
These ripples, they go outward and they consume anyone in their path. And I'm using the word consume judiciously because it's the equivalent of digestion. Nothing much is left. You're hollowed out as a victim of a narcissist. You're hollowed out. You disappear, only to reappear as an internal object, a mental representation, an avatar in the narcissist's mind.
Can I just interject as well? I'm just going to talk about what you're saying, Lima. Hello, Sacred Earth Essentials. Nice to meet you. I forgot what I was going to say. Darn it. Oh, yeah, about the red flags, right? Because it takes some doing, doesn't it, getting to that point?
Well, sometimes, like I was just saying, they're not always evident straight away. So if someone puts on a mask for a while, they get you into a position where you are invested in them, and then suddenly the mask starts to fall, but you're already invested.
And so that,
it's much harder to get out. Sorry, go on.
It's not just their mask. Sometimes they know how to utilize your, like a camouflage of you, isn't it? So it's like they can see that you would put a mask on them for them.
In my case, this person learned everything about my past and then tried to use it against me. But what they didn't learn, what they failed to learn, was that I survived all of that.
Yeah.
They made the mistake of assuming that I was just damaged when actually I survived it.
I think that's the difference between, like you say, like not wanting it, but like it becoming a part of you, not being against it, not being sad about it, not being like pushing against this learning and this growth. Because you don't know, like I've said many times, and it's like with that, I think that's the only way that you can. Now I could be talking shit because I can be paranoid sometimes, right? But like, it gets to the point if you're in that state, I think it comes with age possibly or experience, that you can see those red flags in the future and hopefully calibrate yourself a little bit so you're not constantly on edge seeing everything as a red flag, because that's
I think the problem there is that if you've been through an abusive situation, your brain becomes attuned to responding to any threat of any tiny little minor threat. So it changes your brain chemistry, and you are actually then.
It needs to keep you alive.
Your brain becomes programmed to responding to any slight aggression or slight change in mood to seeing that, perceiving it as a threat. So you have to deprogram yourself, which is really difficult to do.
That's what I meant about when I say it takes a lot of time, doesn't it, to get to that point where you can actually see the flags. And even then, they're very, very good at it. They're very good at finding the thing that you want and hiding behind that. And so that red flag could look like a bowl of cherries for ages, even though it's red. I don't know if that makes sense.
Exactly. That's where the mask comes in. Like the person that they're pretending to be, masking you and showing you what they've learned that you want, and they learn everything about you, and then they mimic those things, and so you don't see but then people on the outside might see straight through that, which is the thing. A lot of my friends saw straight through it, but I was always he's just a little damaged, and it's probably just has a complicated past. I had no idea that I was dealing with something so serious.
Like, nobody understands him apart from me.
No, it wasn't like that. I'm not a kind of person who wants to fix someone either. I'm more like, you've got to fix yourself, but I'm loyal as well. The problem is that when you're loyal, those people feed off that.
I think I needed to fix myself, and so in my own thing, I was going through my own process. I wouldn't have even come to this community and come out as a woman in this community if I'd not done a lot of work on myself, and I was being strong, like trying to be strong for once. So to do that, I had to put up with, I was open to quite a bit of negativity from this person. He didn't have to be perfect in any way. And it's just a weird one, isn't it? Where do you draw the line on?
I do have a high tolerance. I have such a high tolerance for bullshit as well. So my line is quite far. I have the line. It takes a lot for me to get there. Like I will put up with a lot.
Yeah, that's it. And it has been
I'm learning to create boundaries.
Yeah, it has definitely been to my detriment, and that's what's been happening with this current thing. That was the latest one, and it really was just a case of wanting to help someone. I suppose he was helping me get out of a situation slightly as well, because I was in a situation with evil. But he knew exactly what to say. I'd say that he was way more what's the word, premeditated, and like you were saying about your past, a bit more like that, like knowing exactly what to say. It wasn't.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've always wondered how much the premeditation was, because they did pursue me for about 4 years before moving to where I lived, and then kind of moving in on my life, and then basically trying to destroy everything.
Yeah. Now Evil didn't do that. Evil tried to destroy everything at first.
I don't know if it was opportunistic though, or whether it was premeditated. I think it might have been a little bit of both.
I think it's like they're saying in this video here, like Sam Vagnon's saying, it's like they can't help it. It's a machine. It just goes and goes.
Yeah, they're like robots.
You look back at, I don't know, maybe like you look at some like autistic sides of things, and that's like a sensory perception thing. But when they're trying to find their boundaries, it's like, I'm obviously generalizing massively, but like in the past, especially with like say like non-verbal people, I've said this example before about the lady who had her daughter in the house, and at first she wouldn't eat at the table anymore, so they started feeding her, like giving her food in front of her.
There's a lot of I've recently learned that with a friend, that there's an eating component, a disordered eating component to autism, which I never knew about before my friend's kid.
I wouldn't say it's for everybody, but they're definitely
it's a massive spectrum. So no, it's very, very on an individual basis.
Control as well. If you're like, if you can't fit in the world, and you finding it hard to understand that, especially a youngster, a really young kid, then it's the gifts of power and all that stuff, isn't it? So we're talking like food and the things that come out of you and stuff like that, and that's where smearing and stuff like that comes in as well, because it's all that sensory stuff. But what I'm saying is, like with autism, when there's like a hindrance in that sense, like there's something that makes it harder for them to understand a certain thing or interpret something, then they'll which is kind of similar to like a trauma, in this case, which is hindering this person from interpreting something, like this narcissist or whatever, from interpreting something. And with the autism, they will keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So that's what he's saying about the concentric circles. Maybe that's part of similar with the human brain, and how it goes, because they will always push. And it's like, you think you're gonna let, they'll be like, all right, they want to do something in a certain way, and I am generalizing, it's not always the case, and obviously it's a spectrum, so like extreme maybe, or more extreme, but it will never be enough, and then they'll have to the goal always changes, and they'll have to push it again. So like I say, the example with the lady and her daughter was that first she wouldn't eat in the front room, in the front room, and then she wouldn't eat apart from in her bedroom, so mum would take her food up into her bedroom, and then she wouldn't eat unless her mum left it outside or something and didn't go in the room with it, and then she wouldn't eat unless the mum didn't walk on certain steps on the stairs.
So no matter what was changed, it always had to be.
So you can't enable it forever and ever. And I suppose with these guys, because it's very different, it's like they've put all these points into defending and hiding this pushing behavior, and it's almost like, what are they searching for? It's like a hole that's never going to be filled.
Yeah.
But what is that hole?
The bum hole.
Your bloody bumholes.
subject to manipulation. And so this is in a nutshell what narcissism is all about, and that's why there's a huge difference between being a narcissist and being an a-hole. There's a huge difference between having narcissistic personality disorder and having what Lynn Sperry called narcissistic style. Many people have a narcissistic style. Many people are haughty, arrogant, obnoxious, dysempathic to some extent, insensitive, trample over other people, driven, competitive, ambitious. I mean, many people are like that, but they are not narcissists. They are not, their apparatus, their machinery is intact. They have a self. They can tell the difference between fantasy and reality. They are empathic to some extent, and so on. And so they have a narcissistic style, but they are not narcissistic.
What is commercial property? There are 5 main types. I'm going to talk to you about some of them. So,
A
1.
scam.
You mentioned that's absolutely mind-boggling what you're saying, and I've listened and watched a lot of your talks, and the one thing that shocked me, but then after thinking about it, didn't surprise me at all, said if a narcissist is in prison, everything disappears. They immediately conform, because if they continued behaving that way, they'd probably be dead in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So they obviously know what they're doing, but if they are unable to stop themselves, or there's some internal machine ticking and driving them, and then when they realize it's life or death for them, bang, they go right back into the mainstream of society.
Interesting.
This is a serious moral conundrum, a moral dilemma.
Interesting.
In clinical psychology, we
Conundrum is a good word.
you acquire a mental illness the way you acquire
You what, madam?
I said conundrum, that's a good word.
Mm.
Conundrum.
cancer or diabetes. Not your fault. You're a victim. In other words, mentally ill people are victims of their diseases. The same way a cancer patient is a victim of the cancer. Yet it doesn't seem to be the case with narcissism. While definitely pathological narcissism is a very, very serious mental illness, the father of the field, Otto Kernberg, suggested in the 70s that pathological narcissism is second only to schizophrenia as a mental illness. So it's a serious mental illness. On the one hand, on the other.
Oh yes, because Queen Monica diagnosed me too evil that I was a schizophrenic, because I gave that warning that time. As the first female to come up on the scene, I was like just a word to the wise there. And as well, if anyone watches this from this new situation, I had a whole video already planned, but I had to look after the kids today, and I was ready to put that up. And then some dude started chatting to me in the comments, and I think I might have to respond to him. So I'm like videos behind. But yeah, it was all going to be explained in that video a little bit about all that shit.
On the other hand, the behavioral control is absolute. Whereas in all other mental illnesses, the lack of behavioral control is a major clinical feature. These people can't help their behavior. Never mind how hard they try, how hard they want to, and so how much they want to. They can't control their behaviors. And that's a major distinguishing feature of mental illness. That's why we have the insanity defense, where we say they couldn't tell right from wrong, or they couldn't control their impulses. Not so in the case of narcissism, where clearly the narcissist's behaviors, choices, and decisions, many cognitive processes, are utterly contextualized. They're utterly dependent on the environment. The narcissist can turn off all narcissistic behaviors in specific environments, such as prison or the army. You can turn them off because they become counterproductive, self-defeating, and self-destructive. If a narcissist were to behave contemptuously, arrogantly, and so on in a prison cell together with 8 other prisoners, he won't live to see the morning. So it seems that the narcissist is fully in control of behavior. So what I'm suggesting is that in the case of pathological narcissism, and I think only in the case of pathological narcissism and psychopathy, these are the only 2 cases, the behaviors are a choice. The behaviors absolutely can be turned on and off, can be controlled, and so on and so forth. Not so the motivations, not so the psychology behind the behavior. So whereas the narcissist can make a decision with regards to what to do, the narcissist has no idea why he's doing what he's doing. So the lack of control in the case of pathological narcissism is not external.
Especially when you bring in substance abuse as well.
It's not behavioral. It's internal and mainly emotional. Mainly. And in this respect, Otto Kernberg was right again when he suggested that narcissism is just another form of borderline. In borderline personality disorder, we have what we call emotional dysregulation. It's when the borderline control her emotions. Her emotions overwhelm.
I'm getting Carl.
Her
Carl
emotions
was very.
are
Hey, what pause it? Yeah.
So, okay, so Volk was saying, why do I get so easily fooled? And I said it's because I try to see the good in people when they might not deserve it. And also, it's going back to what I was saying before, that sometimes the mask is just so good, and they are very good at, like, I just didn't see it because it wasn't there. There wasn't the sociopath and the violence and all the bad stuff didn't come out for a while. Like, it just, for me, it wasn't there. There was some odd behavior, but I have various friends with various mental illnesses, and so I put it just down to like various other things. The last thing I thought was sociopathy. I considered a bunch of other things first. I didn't leap to sociopathy because it seemed extreme. It was on the end of my list, and so I didn't go there until it got serious and it became abusive and bad. So before that, it wasn't always bad, and there was a lot of other layers to it. So I got duped because there was a mask and there was a play, and there was a different personality covering up what was underneath, and it was not revealed to me straight away. A lot of other people suspected things, but again, I'm just not always quick to judge people, and I always want to give people a chance. So it's not that I'm an idiot or that I got fooled. It's just because, I'm not.
Well, like those guys were saying in this video here, they've got a lot invested in fooling you. You know what I mean? It's like life and death.
They're just really
when you haven't got that life and death threat.
It wasn't that there wasn't any need for any instincts, because there was no threat to me at the time. There was no threat. I wasn't being threatened. I didn't feel threatened in the friendship that was developing initially. I thought that this person was slightly the red flags were not red flags in that way. I just thought that they were quite shy, a little bit insecure. There was no sign of.
I was different to you, Lima. I think I was willfully ignoring some red flags, especially with Captain N. Especially, I got the literal creeping feeling up my back, up my spine. I had it.
I just didn't. I thought it was a million other things. I thought there might be. I didn't think they had a personality disorder. I thought that maybe they had a really messed up past. They were a bit lonely, insecure. Didn't really want to talk about the past.
Such an extreme
they were very intelligent, and there were no red flags initially. They just weren't for me. Like I didn't feel in danger. There wasn't any red flags until I got punched in the face. You know what I mean? They just weren't.
They didn't look like Patrick Bateman, did they? They didn't have that.
I would say that by the time the flags did start to show, I was already invested, and that was the point. I was already invested and I already cared about them. So it was so that's the point when you become trapped in the beginnings of what will later become a cycle of abuse. But at that point, no, there weren't any actually. No, I wasn't.
You've got like a cult around you as well. I don't know what it's like with you, but you've got a friendship group. Everyone's kind of
Volp's asking me if I was insecure myself. I have insecurities, but that didn't affect. That's not any reflection on how I am in friendships with other people. No, it's my problem is that I'm too fucking compassionate and empathetic towards other people, and like when people are dickheads, I have a lot of friends that are a bit of a dickhead, and I'm like, yeah, but I see the good in them as well. So in this case, I thought this person's very intelligent, they're very funny, and I get along with them. And there weren't any red flags. There wasn't any sign that I would get injured or that I was at risk. And so I thought, if I don't feel that I'm at risk, I'm not gonna be. There's no red flags for me. There might be a bit. They might be a bit odd, or they might have some issues. But a lot of people I know have strange quirks.
You don't want that perfect person.
I thought that they might have depression or some other issues. I thought they had some issues that probably they could deal with. But I never thought that I was dealing with a fully blown sociopath, which is what transpired in the end. I'm not validating dickheads. I'm not validating.
What happened with him? Is he all right now? What happened to him?
I don't know. He's dead to me. Well, I'm not validating dickheads, and when I say dickheads, I mean like harmless dickheadishness. Like nobody's perfect.
Yeah, but everyone's a dickhead. I'm validating you. You can be a dickhead sometimes. Not to me, but not being a dickhead.
I'm not talking about really bad behaviour. I'm talking about just a little bit of roguishness or a bit of just nobody's perfect. Some people can be a bit of a cunt every now and again, but nothing that would suggest that I would be harmed in any way or that I would suffer in any way. So as the minute I know that now, Paul, but there was
the baby out with the bathwater, as I've said.
I'm telling you now that I didn't know. There were no red flags until I was in too deep and I was already trapped in a cycle of violence. And because I've been through that now, I also understand that the cycle of violence is really fucking complicated, and that it's just stepping away from it immediately. And that's why I value my experience because before I would have been one of those people that just said, oh, why don't you just walk away from it? And it's like, now I know it's really, there's layers.
Or just don't go near those people. And it's like the grey rock and all that, which has got a use to it in certain situations. I've used it many times, like off and on with these guys as a bit of a tool, but it's like...
I've got mates that can be a bit of a dickhead every now and again.
No, it's not.
They're right. You can be a dickhead at times, but it's not harmful.
Yeah.
I just didn't see
do you want to be in the life zone or do you want to be in the death zone?
There were no red flags until the red flags were huge. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, I had a few red flags which I over time willfully ignored more, but they were never ever huge. I think the difference in my was that there was an influence from somebody else who was a bigger giant wanker, shall we say, a bigger giant wanker than him, way bigger, and took him into the dark side. He was trying to go straight, or he was pretending to try to go straight, and then this other dude turned up. So that was the influence on that one, and I suppose that's why the red flags changed.
I'll say for me as well, my hugest downfall, the weakest part of my personality in that situation is my loyalty. Because I'm very loyal to friends. I very much cared about this person, and I was invested in them, and and I'm very loyal in friendships, and that is, and I shouldn't even be saying this. I think that's
why they get. I think that's the thing that they get you on. They know you're loyal. If they know you're loyal, that's it. They'll fucking have you every time. See you coming.
Loyal and compassionate and empathetic is just like I'm perfect for that.
Yeah, we know that, though, Shin. You are a dickhead.
Now I've been through that. This is over 10 years ago, and I have dealt with dickhead since, but not to that level.
I want to answer the question about he's asking when he was a dickhead. I'm not saying you are a dickhead, and you've never been a dickhead with me ever, right? But Rhea could say you were a dickhead, couldn't she? Do you know what I mean? If she was to sort of, be in this conversation, she would be like that. So it's about perspective. And you've got your reasons as to what went on there. but her perspective might be different. She's not. I doubt she's going to be like, oh, I understand where he's coming from. She might. Oh my God! I bet you are, Notion. I bet you are.
And I'm much more careful with where I put my loyalty now. I'm careful with it now.
Mm.
Oh, Team Dickhead, go Team Dickhead, yay!
Yes, go on, Lewis. See, the only honest way to live. Just admit you're a dickhead. I'm a dickhead. Lima's a dickhead. Whereas me and Lima are Team Dickhead when we go out.
Team Dickhead. Not in a nasty way, just in a silly way, you know, not in a asshole way. There's assholes and there's dickheads. We're just dickheads.
I'll tell you what, though, the last time we went out, we were incredibly civilised, weren't we? Because we had company. So we weren't dickheads when we went out last time. We had a high class, a much higher class of person around us. So we were all right. Oh man, you should have passed that person the link to this stream, shouldn't you? Or maybe they already know.
I already did.
All right, excellent. Well, hello, if you're listening. Hello. It might be a bit late. It might be a bit late now. You never know. My whole 56 years has been owning people who try business credit. That's fair, isn't it? That's fair. Well, yes, mate. Well met. Well, you know me, I'm having a go as well now. I'm finally getting my arse in gear and having a go myself because I deserve it. Are we ready to go again? What do you reckon? Yeah.
So we call it emotional dysregulation. It's a major clinical feature of borderline personality disorder. And I'm suggesting it's the same in narcissism. In pathological narcissism, the narcissist is a hostage of his own or her own repressed emotions or explicit emotions, negative emotions, such as rage or envy or whatever. However, the expression of these emotions via behavior, the behavioral translation of these emotions, is under the control of the narcissist. The narcissist can hate you and decide to not attack you because you're bigger and stronger, and you're going to send him to a hospital. But if you are weaker and smaller, he will attack you. Mm-hmm. So clearly, the narcissist is utterly in control of his behaviors, which is not the case in...
I'll just add again here that I found very interesting. When he was saying, I've lost my train of thought because I just saw that thing from Doshin. What's it say there? Stronger, yes. So he was saying, I don't know if you ever saw this video, and I found this very interesting, that when you remind them of them, I think they go for it because they want something from you, because you're aligning with what they want and when you're like them, fantasy version of them. I think at first they'll go for it, but then when they realise that you're reminding them of who they pretend to be, then they will turn away from you. I think that's how it goes, because they don't want the competition potentially, and they feel threatened, as I've experienced. And then if you go the other way and you remind them of their real self, which is the needy type, and they're like with me, like grooming me into it. There was a bit on that stream where I've been doing some YouTube poop lately, and there was a bit where it's like, she was calling me all the time, she was a psycho, she was all whatever, right? Obviously I'm going to go over it later, but he was the one calling me all the time. He was the one, I mean, this is just he said, she said, but he actually, I just need to express that that's what that was. And he got me into a state where I expected that phone call all the time. And then when it didn't come anymore, then that made me a bit more in need. And he steadfastly brought me from quite a high level of energy where I was at the start.
So basically keeping you hooked or something.
Yeah, he like dragged me down and dragged my energy down and down and down until I was at his real self level. I don't think I ever got that low, because I'd be fucked up, wouldn't I? Be even more fucked up. But he was bringing me down, and then when you remind them of the real them, as in someone needy, maybe a bit weak, broken, or whatever, then they will turn away from you again, because obviously they don't want to be reminded of themselves. So you kind of fucked both ways with these people.
Or he will attack you. So clearly, the narcissist is utterly in control of his behavior, which is not the case in borderline. Borderlines are not in control of their behavior. They act out.
This AI tool will take your idea and create a complete book, complete design.
Hey, sweet, maybe I should do that for me, book.
Narcissism, in this sense, is the only mental illness we are aware of where behavior is utterly cognitively controlled, on the one hand, and at the same time, there's a background of emotional dysregulation, an extreme dysregulation of self-esteem and self-worth and self-confidence. So it's a dysregulated internal world which somehow mysteriously gives rise to a highly regulated external behavior.
What he
And we have
doing?
no precedent of this.
What he doing? Listen. How regulated is that? You know what I mean? I mean, you can take it another step, which is like how much they have to regulate their entire environment and all the people around it. Each individual has to be regulated. I used to call fucking Tommy the regulator because he'd be coming in like letting people know what's what, telling everyone what's what sort of tempo everyone had to fucking dance to, and all the rest of it all the time.
Regulator. That's kind of a boss name, though, I have to say.
Pardon?
It's kind of a boss name, though, the regulator.
The regulator, yeah, man. What's that song?
And I was just thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah, the 90s one.
Should we put a little bit of it on, or do you think we'll get struck for it?
No, don't
Maybe I'll
do
get
it.
do a cover of it. Get a cover of it. I'll see if I can find it.
Maybe later.
Because psychology, it's very reminiscent of quantum mechanics, where you have a trillion zillion particles behaving totally chaotically. There's a total chaos there, and they give rise to this laptop and to you and me. This chaos gives rise to order. We are structures. We are ordered. There's order in you and me. And yet, if we go down deeper and deeper, another layer, we end up with elementary particles which are utterly chaotic, which go every which way. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason or logic or anything. It's a mess. And this mess gives rise to you and me, and we're highly organized. It's the same in narcissism. Internally, there's quantum mechanics. Internally, there's all these particles clashing, exploding, bloody mess. I mean, total dysregulation, enormous mess. However, externally, the narcissist is very often goal-oriented, is in control of his behaviors, is exploitative, even the abuse has its own logic, and so on and so forth. This discrepancy between what we call a semi or pseudo-organized personality and this internal dysregulation is unheard of. I'm not aware of any other disorder with this.
Incredible. Thank you for
Oh,
explaining.
may I add one insight?
Yeah,
I have this, sorry, I apologize. I have this tendency. I think the reason is the false self. The false self is an exoskeleton. The false self is like an external skeleton. It's an external structure which is highly orderly. It's reminiscent of a religion. It's highly.
What you doing? Listen! It's Rusty Trombone.
Hello.
Hello.
Structure.
Oh, we know that hypnotist you're on about, Rusty. Your boyfriend, how's he doing?
Highly ordered, highly predictable, and this
Predictable, yeah.
is containing the ephemeral and chaotic and protean mass, which is the narcissist. So what we come across, what we interact with, what we see, what we observe, it's not the narcissist. It's the false self.
You're not lazy. You're just disorganized.
How do you know? Wow. She shits all over pen and paper man, doesn't she?
Explain.
Wow, straight to the point, man.
The person or the people that human being is interested in bringing into his or her realm, society has a way of calling them victims. However, I think that there is an element, perhaps a significant level of willingness for the so-called victim to enter.
Hang on a second. Rusty Trombone, have you seen this, Lima? Watch a schizophrenic take his clothes off. That's how me and Lima met. That is literally how we did it. Watch a schizophrenic take his clothes off.
Do you mean
an old man with a beard? Yes. I've told him all about Nathan Barr, that cult.
Oh God. Yeah, he really did just start to get butt naked in front of kids, didn't he?
Yeah. Rusty, are you going to see Nathan Barr there? It's got to be him. There's only one schizophrenic that takes his clothes off around here.
I don't think he's doing that anymore. I think he's over his clothes removal things.
Well, he did it. No, because he did it very specifically. That was a whole thing, wasn't it? It was like he was pushing the boundary.
Like I've seen his. Considering his audience is so young as well, like fuck, that was weird.
He was doing the same thing as these guys do, which is just going like what Ricardo and Evil did, basically, and Captain N, LOL Duckman. They went as long as they could to just get what they could, get these people on board just by doing this, and then they'll just completely wipe it and change the whole scenario. So they were like, "What are you talking about? I never took my clothes off for kids." Like, that's never the case. He wiped that whole Discord, knowing the whole thing was done. Like, he tried to pretend it was an ARG for like a fucking year, and then all of a sudden that's never even been the case. You know what I mean? It's similar, very similar. But then he's a bit narky anyway,
To kind of buy into whatever the fantasy is.
Warren G, yes, mate.
Oneself whether it's a nation,
we'll do the
entire world, or a marriage.
We should do the. I'm talking over the Mountain Man, and I think it's very valid what he's saying. We should do the club style, the Vic Reeves club style of it.
To enter into the realm, to buy into whatever the fantasy is, and lose him or herself in that relationship.
Exactly, Tom. Exactly, mate.
Extricating oneself.
This is what we've just been saying, isn't it?
Cult of
the cult,
whether it's a nation or the entire world or
exactly
a marriage, would be almost impossible.
Exactly. Oh, drink to that.
Because I don't think anything's impossible. But so that person isn't particularly a victim, but however, when they're out of it, boy, they're a shell of the person they were before. I just jumped all over the place, but can you talk about
the shell? Yes, at first, because they took a lot of your personality. They sat inside you and wore you as a skin suit, and then when they go, you're like flapping around because none of your bones are in the same place anymore. You've gone Guy Fawkes. It's all like flappy legs, flappy arms. No support inside yourself. But when it grows back, like you were saying, it's way better. I don't think you're left as a shell of the person you were at all on a longer term, as long as you grow with it. Like you're saying, you can, unless obviously someone, you've been actually like killed by one of these people, because it does happen. As we've seen on as Dorshin knows from watching Dr. Grande and Albert, if he's still here as well. Have you got to say anything?
No.
Other side of the coin?
Yeah, the only reason to call these people victims is because of the lack of full disclosure.
Right.
If I were to sell you a stock, and I'll tell you this is a great company, it's going to have a fantastic future, and so on and so forth.
Hey, Carl.
I neglected to provide you with a financial statement. So, okay, you opted into the fantasy.
Carl, I've just got to disclose, full disclosure. I was doing the screen sharing, and I'd already clicked off saying that I didn't want notifications, but it doesn't ever listen, this computer. It never listens. And whatever you sent me came up. So no one will have seen it properly, but you know that Volpus took a screenshot of that. So I don't know really I did have a quick look to see what we talked about, and it was fine. Just you bitching about Albert a bit. So I hope you don't mind. But yes, part of your private communication to me got shown, but it was nothing dodgy. And there's nothing dodgy that we've been talking about, is there really? So just so you know. How are you doing anyway?
So what I'm trying to say is that what the narcissist is a con man. It's a con. The narcissist shared fantasy is a con, it's a swindle. You're provided with just enough information to lure you in, to bait you. But then when you're in it, you begin to realize that, you're way in over your head and out of your depth, and you're going to suffer greatly because of a lack of self.
Or you deny it to yourself.
Now, the way the narcissist baits you and lures you in is by pushing reflexive and instinctual buttons in you that are usually invisible to most people, but become visible to the narcissist because he uses something which I was the first to describe, called empathy. Called empathy is a combination
Scanners
of cognitive empathy and reflexive empathy, but not emotional empathy, not affective empathy. So what the narcissist does is scans you on the first meeting. He scans you, and he's able to decode you and decide.
Fucking scanners.
I don't think you've ever known this. Within minutes. Literally within minutes.
I'm nodding my head, by the way.
Pardon?
I'm nodding my head a lot to this, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It's fantastic, isn't it? It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
And then having honed in, having zeroed in on your weaknesses and hopes and dreams and frailties and chinks in your armor.
Fair play. It's like what they enjoy, and it's like a bit of Pokemon. They've got to pick it all apart.
I feel like they can see everything about you that you can't. You reveal they can see everything in you that other people can't. They're just able to see a lot about you, the way that you are, and
stuff that you can't see. Because that was part of it.
I don't think so. I think you just don't know you're showing it.
Yeah, maybe, but then there was some stuff with Evil where we were having conversations and he'd bring stuff up and we'd be talking about stuff, and I'd look at things completely differently because he'd noticed something. So he was trying to help. He was doing that, but he was trying to help at first, and it just, over time...
Or at least that's how it appeared.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It looked like he was trying to help, but he was just doing his normal thing of finding the chinks in the armor. And
so the person that you think was really good at the beginning, the same way as I thought the person had qualities that were good at the beginning, and then at the end of it all, I thought, was any of that real? Was the good person really there, or was that like a fake person, or is it a bit of both? Maybe there is somebody in there as well, or is it all just a fucking mask?
I refused to believe that there was no one else in there, that it'd all gone and there was nothing in there. But then over what I saw, it did seem that, and there was just that statement. I think it was from Sam Vatnin. He was saying they're just running this script. It's just like a robot running a script, and it really
they're like a blank slate, and then they mimic other people's characteristics.
Yeah, and then they get themselves like a little repertoire that works over time, and they'll just add it and finesse it and just really like make it fine tuned. Because as I said before, they haven't got anything else to put their points into, have they? So they just put it all into that, and so they're always going to have one over on us on that score.
Having zeroed in on all these, he is able to penetrate your defenses, invade your mind, and train you. And train you means synchronize your mind with your brain, actually, with his brain. That's a fact. That's not a conspiracy theory. And then he is able to take over you. It's a hostile takeover.
Can I just mention the funny voices? Not the accents, the voices, the repetitiveness, the cult mentality, the safe zone, the fact that no one who's got any dissenting voices is allowed, not even dissenting voices, but the potential of a dissenting voice is allowed to even come in, and they think they're completely untouchable in doing this. This is annoying me that these notifications are coming up when I've said no.
But all this is done with insincerity, with a lack of disclosure, with partial information.
Broken doors, scratch worktop, kitchen makeover from
in my kitchen.
our court.
So you're presented with with the alleged positive aspects of the fantasy, but not with its costs, not with what are the minimum requirements from you to suspend your very existence, and so on and so forth. In this sense, it's a con. And I'll give you one example. One instrument the narcissist uses to bait you, to lure you in, especially in intimate and romantic relationships. But before I proceed, it's important to realize that the narcissist uses the stratagem or the artifice of fantasy, shared fantasy, in all interpersonal relationships. So it is not confined to intimate romantic relationships. It's in the workplace, it's with neighbors, it's in a political party, it's when becoming president. It's always the shared fantasy. Narcissists are unable to relate to other people and interact with them except through fantasy, because the narcissist does not exist. Narcissist is absence masquerading as a presence.
Right.
It's a piece of fiction. The false self is a concoction. It's a movie. It's a projection. It's not real. It's a phantasm. It's a phantasm. It's a fata morgana. It's a mirage. So it can't rely on the truth. It cannot be founded on reality. It has to drag you away from both. It has to be false, because the self is false, and the stories the false self spins are also false by definition. If the starting point is false, everything that follows is false. So I'll give you an example in an intimate relationship, in a romantic.
Richard Grannon said, cease all sincere communication with those who are insincere. And that's like the thing, it's like from the root of it, the very starting point is false. It's like in Back to the Future, if you go back in time from that point, it's always just going to be false from there. So none of it, you try talking sense into this person after you've got understanding for them and stuff like that, but if you don't go all the way back to that point, you're just talking to the fake shit. You're never going to get anywhere with that, which is, unfortunately, I did not take that into account.
Relationship, and I will use a heterosexual couple, although this equally applies to same-sex couples.
Hey, alone, Maximus.
The narcissist, when he comes across a potential for an intimate partner, and remember that as far as a narcissist is concerned, the intimate partner does not exist as a separate external object. She exists merely and only as a prop or an actress or a participant in his shared fantasy.
Right.
So he's auditioning her. There's a process of auditioning.
We've seen that, haven't we, guys? We've seen that. You don't love yourself that much.
I don't know if narcissists have any self-love either. I don't think they have that. I don't think
they love their fake self because they hate themselves.
No, there's just simply nothing there.
I
don't think it's not self-love. It might be some form of self-obsession, perhaps, but only in that they're trying to create themselves all the time.
Also, it's like safety, isn't it? It's self-safety. It's like trying to make sure that you're protecting the thing that's most important to you, which is your own self, and probably trying to stop yourself at some weird level from dying or something, like some evolutionary thing.
The role, it's a role, so it's role play. She's great for the role, and now I need to convince her to abandon reality. And herself.
There was a time once, and it was a bit of a red flag, and I ignored it. But he said it to me a couple of times, and he was like, when I come over, you can leave your job, and blah, blah, blah. And I remember him catching himself doing it and going, oh, but you love your job. And I remember thinking to myself, like, it was just the way he said it, the tone of voice. It was like, this one, I have to change it up a bit for this one. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and I just ignored it. I just and I was like, yeah, I do love my job. And I just kind of ignored that whole nuance that came with it. That, like, why would someone say that? And yeah, it was weird. It was just really weird. Leave was, yeah, but that's it. He was like, when you come over, you won't have to work and I could do all this stuff and like future faking and all that. But he realized with me that it wasn't going to work. So he had to, like, on the fly, just switch it up. And it just shows that he got this whole spiel that he just used to go down.
To negate everything she has known and lived hitherto, to give up on her family and friends, and to join me on the Robinson Crusoe Island, which is my shared fantasy.
He literally lives on an island.
So what the narcissist does,
I do as well there.
He provides the potential intimate partner with access to a simulation of a suffering child.
God, that's so spot on. I could not fucking agree more with both of them, with Evil and with Captain Ed. But also, I will say that they've all done it, haven't they? Look at fucking Ricardo and how much of a victim he plays. As soon as anybody calls him to task, all I ever said to him was, like, come on a panel with me. And it's like, oh, they're all attacking me. This person's attacking me. And oh, no. And it's like, you're joking. That channel wouldn't even exist if you didn't attack people in the private and never, ever answered to any of it. Yeah, vanity. Yeah. Where do you draw the line? You know,
I don't feel it's self-love, though. I feel that there's a lot of self-hatred based on the confusion because they don't have a self. So we're talking about really extreme narcissists here in this case, but yeah, a lot of
they don't have a self. There's no vanity, there's no love, there's no hate.
The confusion of not having a self, that they're constantly trying to become somebody. So they want
to see themselves through everyone else's eyes.
Self-obsession, and then there's vanity as well, because
it looks like they're self-obsessed, but actually they want everybody else to see it and reflect it back to them.
They are self-obsessed, but only because they're constantly trying to be something. So they're constantly focused on themselves.
They're peacocking so that people notice them, so they can give them feedback, so they can exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So otherwise, like Sam Vaknin was saying, otherwise it's just quantum foam and they don't exist. They need to, like, collapse that waveform by putting eyes on it, which is what I had to do with. I'm saying that because that's what I had to do with that LOL Duckman. Was I had to get eyes on it. I had to do it when I got Cyrus on Evil, and every time I fucking did it, does something change with these guys' behaviour? You have to do it.
To the potential intimate partner.
He just wanted a British passport. No. Apparently, he was telling me all sorts of bullshit. He said he's already got one or something.
The narcissist is a suffering child, broken, hurt, crying, in need of help and protection and a hug and a lot of love.
Oh, but if only it was that. Yeah, if only it was that.
This is an irresistible proposition, not only to women, also to men. When you see a baby, what is your first instinct? To coo, to hug, to protect. You would be very protective of a baby.
And the thing is with Evil, right? He came in under attack. He knew exactly how to do it, exactly the same as fucking this dude. LOL Duckman comes in under attack. The eternal victim comes in under attack because that's the only way that they can get someone, just by literally crying. Both of them literally cried for hours at me. Both of them. And I mean literal tears and wailing. Cool, what senses? What senses? All right.
The narcissist pretends to be a baby, triggers all the protective maternal or parental instincts in the potential intimate partner.
The question about Pat the Nose Punk is a narcissist collecting all those games and not liking when someone has a bigger collection. Well, it's very childish, isn't it?
Well, envy can definitely be a big. I don't know this person, but just saying that, and envy can be a huge aspect of narcissistic behavior. I don't know this person, so I can't say.
Yeah, it might not be a narcissist, but
it might not be a narcissist, but envy is certainly it's a envy and sort of jealous behavior, and then lashing out because of envy. lashing out because of envy is definitely an
Yeah,
aspect
I would
of
say it's a
narcissistic
shallow
behavior.
thing, and then if they were to sort of lash out, then that would indicate that they're threatened by it, which is
Yeah.
like they're 3-year-olds that never pulled it together. And so it's like very similar to Cuya. You've got that the whole thing, oh, that's my toy. I don't want to play with that toy, but you're not allowed to play with it. And they can't even get their head past that. So it's like the whole thing of like, I've said it before, like I remember when I went to A-level art and they were like, one of the first things they said was like, in your school, you would have been quite high in the art group and everyone would have given you loads of like, positive shit about that. And now you're here with all the rest of the people, and the exact same thing happened to all these people. You are not any better than anyone else here at art, although you were in your old school, because otherwise you wouldn't be doing art now. And so it's like, it's the same thing, but they just can't get their head around. They never had that conversation with anyone. So they're just like, oh shit, someone drew a picture better than mine, or whatever it happens to be. And it puts them into this fucking life or death situation. Like all of a sudden, everything's going to fall apart because someone else did a fucking music video, didn't they, Tommy? Do you know what I mean? Like,
also,
around everybody, anyone who puts anything out.
So, someone, rather than just calling someone an entire narcissist, people can have narcissistic behavior, but not actually be a narcissist. You can still be narcissistic without being a full-blown narcissist.
But I would definitely say that was narcissistic behavior in the sense that you're threatened by someone else having something abstract, like something which is ridiculous, you know, like a bigger collection, and not liking it maybe, but then actually attacking someone and trying to destroy it. That's the difference. The glutton. No, watch the hoarding video. Watch the hoarding video, Joysticks. It's on my channel. I mirrored it from Sam Vaknin like a few days ago. I've been meaning to do it for a long time, that hoarding video. I thought it was very, very relevant. And it's very interesting, actually. It was pretty mind-blowing for me. It's about safety.
Yeah.
The actual fundamentals of the hoarding is about safety and about, I mean, Sam Vaknin was saying it's about like your interpretation of like whether you're going to die or not, almost.
There's also, in a similar way, there's some people that have been like physically attacked or abused. There's some people who then will overeat so that they can have like a extra layer of skin. They put on a lot of weight so that they can protect themselves because they're mentally, they feel mentally like they need like an extra layer of armor.
Just kicks in,
I have a friend that's actually like that, and it's because of like a lot of bad things that happen. So they literally overeat so that they can have this extra layer of skin that make, an extra layer of fat on their body so that they then feel like it's protection. It's just, and it's similar.
Really interesting as well.
It's a similar mindset to hoarding.
Yeah. It is interesting that, because also it's going to be pushing people away as well, because people might not come and approach you as much.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's protection.
Yeah, so you did watch that and you thought about, totally people's game collecting. It's definitely made me think about the He-Man collection, Ricardo's He-Man collection in his broken bloody Bebop and Rocksteady with one leg and all that, which I kind of love. I kind of love that. But I wouldn't say he's a glutton. I don't know. I mean, no, I wouldn't say so, because I think that's just my personal opinion, because it's in the parameters of that environment. It's not gluttony to have all those games, is it? They've all got everyone. It's like that's baseline for everyone to have all those games, and so it's kind of like it's more posturing than gluttony.
It's one thing to collect a lot of things. If you then make a habit of showing them off and then wanting to compare yourself with other people, that's a different level.
Well, that's people like to do that, though. People like to be geeks about things.
Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with collecting things. There's nothing wrong with collecting things.
But it's when you're pissed off at someone else, like actually pissed off and wanting to attack them because they've got.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's a different level. I don't know this person that we're talking about, so I really can't comment.
Yeah, that's it. The flexing's like, it's pretty. it's an interesting one as well, because it's like that is something that is kind of a modern thing, really, isn't it? Like in the olden days, only people who had fucking skills could flex. You know, if you climbed up Mount Everest, you could flex in the olden days, but now it's, I don't know, it's weird, it's different. Oh yeah, I saw some really cool things today when we did the dodgems, and there were some really good. They had all these different, like, they were all painted up like different Formula One cars and stuff, but they all had different names. And the Red Bull one was something like Relay Bub or something. It was like good, really Bub. Yeah, and it's complicated. It's so complicated because, like, where does human nature come in, and the peacocking and the showing? Like, you look at a lyrebird. Is it lyrebirds? And they get all the little things and they put them all out to attract a mate. And they lay it all up in front of them. You know what I mean? I've seen it on Life of Birds.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to go and get my stuff to skin up, but I'm going to play it a bit.
And hooks her. This is why it's very difficult to break up with a narcissist, because you have a feeling that you're abandoning your child, or at the very least abandoning a child.
Yeah, I wanted to help him.
And not only just
And
any
he
child,
used it.
but a child in dire need. A child, and you are the only raft in this ocean, and you can't let this child drown. And it's like the Titanic, you need to save the kid. So that's an example of a bait. Narcissists use multiple baits of similar magnitude, because this is a seriously invasive bait. What the bait I just described is seriously invasive. And it pushes really, really sensitive buttons. It's a merciless, it's a disempathic and merciless and pitiless bait. But narcissists have many additional baits. And they use all of them in concert to attract you to the shared fantasy. In this process, two things happen. First of all, the combination of all these baits is such that you develop an addiction. You become a junkie. You're unable to let go because so many aspects of you are being tackled, gratified, manipulated, remodeled, redefined. I mean, it engages the totality of you, and you're unable to walk away because you have a feeling that you are leaving yourself behind.
Just a tiny input there. Evil did this absolutely spectacularly. The other guy, LOL Duck, was a crude, cheap, fake version of Evil's thing, and he tried to do it. He has tried to emulate Evil in every step of the way, and I will prove it. And his version of it was so shit. It was so shit compared to Evil's. And he thought that he had me over a fucking barrel, and it was fucking laughable.
There's a new definition of who you are. You are rendered a new version of yourself, but it's not of yourself. You're rendered a false version of yourself. You are the shared fantasy.
Yeah, like the very first time he ever fucking met me, he was like, "Can I call you my girlfriend?" And he was like, pushed the whole narrative all the way along. So this false thing, Princess fucking Peach and all that shit,
demands that you abandon yourself.
Exactly.
It's an act of abandonment.
I told him to fuck off with that Princess Peach
you
shit.
abandon yourself, and you find a ready-made version of you, which resembles.
Oh yeah, by the way, when I told them to fuck off with that Princess Peach shit, which I did quite respectfully, I didn't go mad. That's one of the things that they're going to use, saying that I'm a psycho. No, she's a psycho because she hated it because we called her a princess. Blah. And she left, and she went mad about it. No, I didn't. I just asked him respectfully, can you just leave out the princess shit, because you did with Eva, you were calling her the queen. So can you not call me the princess, because it's pretty much a fucking the same cycle again. And they were like, oh, she's a psycho for even saying that she don't want to be a princess. Yeah.
And you get attached to this version because the narcissist knows to manipulate you expertly. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, the narcissist idealizes you at the very beginning of the shared fantasy. It's a stage called love bombing. Narcissist idealizes you. And then you fall in love with your idealized version.
If you had 2 cars or more on finance between 2015 and 2021.
I hate this flashing thing. What the fuck's that?
In this,
That's why I don't. Just to cut in there, that is why you should not use LED light bulbs. Everybody, go back to incandescent because you're not seeing that, but that flickering off that advert, that is happening constantly. You just can't see it, and it's fucking your head up. Just saying.
My head's already fucked.
You are.
My head's already fucked without the flickering.
But honestly, as soon as I went back to incandescent, it's a pain in the ass because to tell you which one, the one at the top of the stairs is the one that always goes, and I have to climb up to fucking change it. That's the one that always goes. But other than that, that's the only inconvenience. It's totally worth doing. Go back to incandescent.
identity. You're hyper intelligent. You're drop dead gorgeous. You're amazing. You're unprecedented. You're unique. You're the world. You're godlike. It's very difficult to let go of this. It's very difficult to let go of this because that's exactly how a mother sees her baby. A mother in the first 6 months idealizes the baby exactly this way. Mothers will tell you, isn't it cute when the baby is the ugliest thing ever? Because raising babies...
No, I was an adorable baby.
I mean, don't tell
I
anyone.
don't like babies either, but I was fucking adorable.
I mean, it's slavery. The only way for the mother to
That's so
survive
funny because I actually called them today because they were shouting me again, and I was like, I've done tea, I've done everything. You're now upstairs, you've got your pajamas, like everything like that, and they're shouting me. I was like, yes, master. I go up the stairs like, yes, master. What do you want of me now? It was being really cute. I can't remember. He was like saying something sweet, but I was just like, by that point, it was like 8:30, and I was like, it's bedtime, guys. It's bedtime.
because mothers tend to do it. Even in today's egalitarian world, women are in charge of raising children still. So the mother has to self-deceive, and she deceives herself by...
No, I've got nothing against super bright LEDs, Carl. Don't get me wrong. They changed the world. Don't get me wrong in the right situation. But when you're sat at home chilling out and you've got your little lamp on, you're having your cozy time, did you not see those flashing lights? That's what that is. Just saying. And it really is. I've got LED lights in my kitchen. I've got LED fairy lights because I can put really cool covers over them, which I wouldn't be able to do over incandescent fairy lights. But I don't use them in my kitchen very often, so it's all right. But if that was my normal light, or the light I might have on the landing for my kid while he's sleeping, so there's a little light coming through the door, I do not want something that's just flickering, that his brain is interpreting, but you can't see it in your eyes, because that's just processing information and wasting your brain information. Your brain runtime, isn't it, on just processing all these flashing lights that don't really need to be processed at all.
Idealizing the baby. What the narcissist does to you, he acts as your mother. He idealizes you the same way a mother does the baby. And you regress. You become an infant again. It's like a second.
Sure about that.
And it's innocent, and it's perfect, and it's amazing, and it's oceanic. And
it was amazing though for a couple of weeks.
You're immersed in it.
I think he's speaking, I don't think he means like quite literally, but...
You become the narcissist's mother because he presents this wounded child, this injured child, this child in need of protection. So you become his mother. At the same time...
Sorry, what are you saying?
I would say that the person that I dealt with did try to regress me to... I feel like they tried to get my earlier, more damaged self to come out. You know, they discovered that about me and tried to trigger that side of me. And so I did, and for a while they managed to get that side of me out for a bit. But like I said earlier, the thing that they didn't learn about me was that I survived all of that, and therefore I just overcame it again and then fought back.
The thing that you learned, the strength that you had, or the skill that you'd honed, was when confronted with this stuff, to deal with it. So actually he helped me by bringing that stuff up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he thought he was smarter than me, and ultimately he failed to learn he didn't manage to learn anything about me.
When I actually heard the reason that they supposedly gave to this on this stream that I saw, We're talking like months and months after the event that they finally came up with something. And it was just like, oh, she went psycho on us and all that stuff. And it was like, no, mate, because like, it was because I've seen you for who you were. And it clearly was. As soon as that happened, as soon as I'd like wasn't being regressed, like he wanted me to be regressed, that's when it all went fucked up for him. It just wasn't a good fit anymore, was it? Because I was being a real person and I wasn't just being Princess Peach or, you know, but there was some times when he would bring, like you say, he brought it out in me, but I would then take that as, because I'd come into the dojo, I'd already decided and I knew that this place was the troll pit, so I was coming into it knowingly, so I was already kind of prepared and tooled up a little bit, not massively, but a little bit, and but that was my intention, was to learn about myself, so that when he did bring that stuff up, yes, it was intense or whatever, but I dealt with it like, you know, with your amount of training with it all, there was no way you could do anything except that. And like
Synthway is talking about giving up technology. No, we're not Luddites. Obviously, we're using YouTube and computers. Nobody's suggesting that we should give up technology, and like we all have phones, we all use computers.
Oh, we were joking about the tallow candles, mate. We were just joking.
We're only joking.
Yeah. But I have gone back to lard. As well. Lard and incandescent candles, incandescent light bulbs, definitely. All right. See you later, Carl.
Take care.
He becomes your mother.
Nice to see you.
By idealizing you, he renders you a baby. He regresses you. You lose your faculties. You become a toddler. You're no longer an adult.
So I think that's a bit extreme, but sort of.
You give up your agency, your independence, your personal autonomy.
It's a spectrum, though, isn't it? You know, that's talking about on the horizon, isn't it?
Saying you're a toddler is a little bit extreme. I understand what he's trying to say.
No, I think because if on the extreme narcissists, they are like toddlers. They are toddlers. They act like toddlers. They have tantrums like toddlers.
Yeah, but they're saying that they regress you to being that, and I would.
He got me acting all sorts of emotional.
But I think he's talking in a very extreme sense, and I don't necessarily agree with the analogy, but it's just, I think it's just an analogy.
All right, okay, fair enough.
And then the shared fantasy stops. And then within the shared fantasy...
How interesting is this? Can I just, sorry to interject again, but this is reminding me of that bit in Flash Gordon, of all things. You know, oh God, again. God. That bit in Flash Gordon where he puts the guy on and he takes him back, doesn't he? And he goes back to being a baby in the womb. Remember?
You know, I haven't seen it for so long. So
years ago. That's the bit that stuck with me out of everything. That and Brian Blessed. Brian Blessed in the Monkeys.
I saw it so many times, but I cannot remember it right now.
Last time I watched Flash Gordon, I was a kid, probably. I remember watching it with my nans. Carl, I can't click this off because if I do, it's just going to open up the whole thing.
Why don't you close Discord?
Oh yeah, because it'll still come up.
Close it. Close it fully. Like
it does it anyway. StreamYard said, "Do you want notifications?" I said no. I said I don't want notifications, but it just doesn't listen to me ever. So these things come up. So anyone who's listening, don't put me a Discord up right now because it's going to come up on the thing. That's just like me and Lima, though, Lord Maximus. You wouldn't trust him because he's speaking the truth and you don't like it. Shed fantasy.
That's funny.
Old man garden shed story full of fucking broken people, rocksteady fucking figurines.
Starts with a shed fantasy. 50 Shades of Grey.
You're absolutely right. It's we against the world. And if you want to leave this cult, you need to be debriefed. Exactly as we debrief members of real cult.
Yes, and I thank you for that. I thank you for that, sir. I thank you for that.
So you need to be debriefed. And if you're not debriefed, you will be lured back inexorably. You won't be able to stop yourself. You will go there again and again. Never mind how many times you break up. This process is called hoovering. So this, in a nutshell, is a shared fantasy. It has many more.
Oh, the hoovering! Did you have that? Did you get that with your experience?
What do you mean hoovering?
When they leave it and then they'll come back and they'll like act all nice and they'll try and bring you back for some reason.
Oh no, I think that it was mostly just horrible.
Oh God, yeah, it was. They can be horrible. He's done it horribly, and he's done it nice as well.
There was some space in between it, but there was never any apologies or anything like that.
I got a fake apology, a grandiose public fake apology.
I didn't get that until the very, very end, when there was nothing left. When there was only straws to clutch at.
With him, it wasn't because he wanted me back. It was because Ricardo had either thrown him under the bus, or his little scheme with Ricardo had fallen apart, and so he wanted to take this opportunity that I'd given him to try and backpedal on some bullshit that he'd been doing that wouldn't have stood that particularly well, and stood the test of time, and so he wanted to backpedal on that, and so he used me to do that again, and that was his hoovering. And he did a big thank you and all that shit just to basically distance himself from a mistake and a decision that he'd made, to try and get at me, kind of, and weirdly, and just playing into Q's fucking plan. And it didn't work. Q doesn't give a fuck on what that does to his pets. And so there was a negative outcome for Evil on this one. And so it would have benefited him to come and apologise to me, a big showy apology to try and sort of distract. But literally a few hours later, he was back, because as soon as Ricardo saw him apologise, then obviously whatever he was pissed off at Evil was all null and void, and he got Evil back, and they were back in, slagging me off, lying about me within hours.
With regards to hoovering, in my personal experience, that only happened in this particular situation that I'm talking about. It only happened when I had already kind of started to move away. I'd already made it clear that I was over it and moving on, and then it was clutching at straws, begging and hoovering, and it wasn't. And it did work briefly, but then it came to a massive bad end. But that never happened before. It was always the opposite. There was brief gaps in between the horrible bits, but there was never any hoovering.
Really?
No, there was just
similarities between the people, and there was another one. I had another guy once back in the day. It would back off a bit, and then it would get bad again, and then it would back off, and then it would get bad. But there wasn't any niceness. It wasn't any it wasn't any apologising or anything. It was just that there was calm between the storm, but there wasn't any issue in that. In an uncertain place all the time, isn't it? Just constantly in that sort of action.
Waiting for everything to happen.
Waiting for something to happen. Wait, it's like living with someone who's just constantly got a balloon in both hands, just going about to pop it.
Yeah, and you're constantly walking on shelves and trying not to trigger them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God. And the people like trying to be the buffer zone between people. If Vic was here, he'd be able to testify to that. Like the conversations I had with him while I was trying to fucking manage and maintain Evil's friendships, because he was just having tantrums and crying, and like the whole Discord would suffer from it. And then I'd be going around kind of explaining it for him, and then he'd kick off at me for trying to explain for him and all that shit. But people were leaving, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And he probably wanted that to happen, but I didn't know that at the time, because they turned on Vic straight away. So obviously Evil never really, because they will have just seen Vic as someone who they will never be able to get, because he's just him. He's just in his truth. He hasn't got anything. He hasn't got anything to gain from any of these people. It all comes from inside him, and I think that's the thing that they struggle with. It's like that's the thing that Q is threatened by. That if everything comes from inside the person, he's got nothing that he can sort of sell to them, and then he has to get rid of them. And so with Vic, I think really early on, Evil was already making his plays very under the radar, and I was stupidly running around trying to fix everything and explaining, oh, he's just having a bad day, everyone's just a bit emotional, you know, all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
incredible thing. And it is important. There are two things that are important to understand. Number one, there is nothing you could have done and nothing you could have refrained from doing that would have changed the outcome of the shared fantasy, which is devaluation and discard.
I agree with that.
Nothing you could have done. Devaluation and discard are hardwired, built-in features of the shared fantasy, which have nothing to do with you. You just happen to be there.
Breaking
That was
news,
hard to hear
a
the first time
whistleblower
I heard
reveals
that.
a car finance scheme affecting millions of drivers.
And I think
Millions
that
of
might
drivers-
even be part of, like you were
Let's-
saying about vanity earlier, that might be part of the reason why I'd refused to listen to some of the stuff, because it was really hard to hear that I just happened to be there. Do you know what I mean? That goes against your ego or my ego at that time. But now it's fine, you know, it's just what it is what it is.
Number one. Lesson number two, the narcissist is as much a victim of the shared fantasy as you are. He's unable to tell the difference between reality and fantasy to start with, but he is also driven by the shared fantasy, sometimes against his will. So he's as much a captive of the shared fantasy as you are. That's why narcissists do not gaslight. Narcissists cannot tell the difference between reality and fantasy, so how could they gaslight you? Narcissists do not future fake. The promises the narcissist makes you, he believes in them fully. He has every intention to carry them out, to fulfill them. That later on he reneges on these promises is a feature of the shared fantasy, not a feature of the narcissist. What I'm trying to say, I think, is do not confuse either the narcissist or yourself with a shared fantasy. The shared fantasy is a third entity. There's you, there's a narcissist, and there is the shared fantasy, which is driving both of you like a slave holder. So you are, it's always a menage a trois, but without the benefits. Yeah?
Oh, Carl, are you here for that? The menage a trois. Do you remember that? I will have a chat with you about that sometime, Carl, but not today, because we're going to focus on this. And this is now Narcissist. Now, this is probably, I don't know, after your time. But yeah, this is just me and Lima, usually. We have had times where we've had extra people on, but this in the daytime, but this is a special tonight. So it's just me and Lima. But I do want to talk to you about the love triangle, because I used to talk to you about that, didn't I? Because I think at the time Sam Bankman was putting stuff out about triangulation, and I've been feeling it from Kyria all that way. So that is another reason why, you know, I forgave you completely, because what you were saying, there was a truth to it. There was a truth to it, although it was a betrayal and all the rest of it. You did call out the truth. There was not a love triangle, because you got that bit wrong, but there was a triangulation and the menage a trois and all that stuff. So we should definitely talk about that sometime. I was just writing down, like, with your them in your comment section, Carl. Q is going to be desperate as his operatives are rendered weaker and weaker, and they're getting picked off, aren't they? Hopefully anyway. And so as that happens, he will always be touting. He's always closing. He's always scouring, absolutely scouring people's comment section. It has been proven. When he got buttocks to delete people as a troll, yeah, but there was comments left by 2 or 3 people, and they were hours apart from each other, and he was deleting them within minutes of them being put up, within minutes. So someone was watching that comment section constantly, and Buttocks pretty much admitted that it was Kyria. So, you know, he will be trying anyone he can, literally anyone he can, to get in as an operative. I don't see Ben Spastic here tonight. Yes, I do have Ben Spastic down as the new Buttocks.
And then I want to move and ask you a little bit about social media, and because that is an important aspect of one of the reasons I wanted to speak with you. However, in advance of that, take the person, the part of the menage a trois, if you will, and he or she is able to escape and somehow get away, break that bond, I would imagine that the process of rebuilding is not impossible, but it must leave that person with a sense of shame or
No.
a lost
Grief.
sense of self.
Grief.
At first,
Grief, yeah. I think it's probably different for everybody, but there is only a sense of shame if you. Yeah, that's not my experience. I
I
didn't feel
said I was an idiot, didn't I? I called myself an idiot earlier, so there's that. But I wouldn't have called it shame. I wasn't ashamed of that. I was just acknowledging that I was an idiot. There's no shame in that. Everyone can be an idiot sometimes.
I think I'd already assessed that and figured out that the person was, and he eventually admitted that I was dealing with an actual sociopath, and so I didn't blame myself, because when I realised the extent of what I was dealing with, I didn't feel like I had done something wrong or that I was ashamed, because I just thought, oh shit, that was fucking insane, and that was really huge. I got through it. I didn't feel ashamed.
I felt exactly. You're proud of it, yeah.
It was a sense of grief because I'd lost the person that I thought
It's not
existed.
pride. It's more like achievement, isn't it? Like I got confronted.
I don't know. I also felt grief because I
got over it.
grieved for the person that never existed. I had to let go.
100%.
Let
Yeah,
go.
I was spraying buckets over that.
And accept that they might have never even fucking existed, you know.
Exactly. I grieved over that. I agree with that. And also, like, when you find out that it's possibly, like, you know, due to some horrible traumatic thing from a childhood where they had to kill their own self off. And I remember writing in some comment section somewhere, just putting, like, here's to the most beautiful child that never lived, because he was.
I don't think I ever got that far with this person. I did feel like I understood that they didn't choose that brain chemistry, but that doesn't excuse their behavior.
No, exactly. And that's it, isn't it? Being able to hold those two things in your mind at once without having to react emotionally. Well, you do react emotionally to it, but having to sort of pin your ego and being offended or being threatened or anything like that. It's just existing in it and just seeing it for what it is. And that's it. And that's hard enough, isn't it? That's hard enough. You don't need to put in like ego-based shit like the big eye and the little eye, innit? Like you don't need to be putting all the little eye shit on that. Because well, you can, but it's just gonna give you more shit to deal with.
To be hard, and that's probably why people stay in really horrible marriages or relationships and just die old people unfulfilled. It must be almost impossible to get out. And can you rebuild? Can you get back to 100, whatever 100% was before you met that person?
First of all, as a general principle, if you make a choice or a decision, it's because you consider the alternatives to be much worse. Otherwise, you would not have made this choice or decision. If you choose to stay in the shared fantasy, it's because you believe that the alternatives are inferior to that. So when you exit the shared fantasy, there is multiple grief. You grieve the child whose mother you have been. You grieve the mother that you've just lost. You grieve the loss of your own identity.
I hate that he's calling the narcissist a mother, because I just the whole idea that there was any kind, especially because this person actually hated their mother, and you know, I hate the use of the word mother because it just doesn't fit it's not. I don't relate to it.
It's a splitting thing, like you were saying. It's like really because your mother's
He's using it as an analogy. I realise he's using it as an analogy. I just don't relate to the analogy that he's using.
Yeah, you might not, but in general, it's because like your mother is the first person that you're going to connect with, isn't it? The first person.
What he's saying, I personally don't relate to that analogy at all.
Yeah, fair enough. My mum was a full-on narc, like totally. So
you relate to that, Mum? Yeah,
I do relate to it. Obviously, I mean that's why I'm interested in this stuff, because I was raised by a narcissist. So, well, I think so. Anyway, I can't diagnose her, but she's basically everything. as soon as I started looking at this stuff, it helped me heal.
Make more
so
sense
much.
of your life. Yeah.
God, massively, massively. And that was years ago, well before I came to this community. That was what I mean about me being at high level energy when I turned up here, and when I turned up and I spoke to Evil, like I was at high level for me to even be in that state, and I'd been doing a lot of work. But I obviously knew I needed to fucking level up and get into fucking hardcore mode and actually do some like actual field work.
That now is replaced by
Oh, hey, how's it going? I'm pen and paper guy.
Ah, replaced by pen and paper guy!
You see,
You again.
intolerable, unbearable reality. You grieve, of course, the loss of the narcissist as a potential as a partner, someone you loved, someone you were attached to or bonded with. And you grieve what could have been and would never be.
Yes.
You grieve the lost potential. And so on and so forth. And
It's like that song, and I
There is
I was
multiple
singing that
grief,
song when
which does not
when it
exist.
ended. You know, this is the end, my only friend, the end. But it's that bit of our elaborate plans, the end. You know,
Normal, healthy
heartbreaking.
relationship. If you're in a healthy relationship and you break up, that's one of the most heartbreaking, traumatic experiences imaginable. Agreed. But it doesn't have this multiplicity of grief. You don't grieve your healthy partner as if he were your child. That doesn't happen in healthy relationships. So, and if you do, you've had a narcissistic shared fantasy. So, there's a grief. You have to overcome this first. Then, having overcome the grief, you suddenly realize that you have been regressed. You've been thrown back in life to age 2 or 3. You're an infant. You're a toddler. You've lost most of your adult capacities, including the capacity to cope. And so you need to go through the stages once more. You need to grow up once more. You need to start from zero once more. You need to raise yourself. You need to be you need to mother yourself, to be your own mother, and raise yourself from scratch, basically, and become an adult again. Next thing you discover, having surmounted this phase, next thing you discover is that the narcissist is in your head. There's a voice in your head, and we call it an introject, that keeps talking to you.
This saved me. This
Keeps
is one of the early
criticizing
things
you,
that I
keeps
watched.
putting you down,
It really
keeps
helped.
disagreeing with you. There's this voice, and it's ever present. It wakes you up at night. It talks to you in the most unexpected moments. It depresses you, causes you anxiety, and you can't get rid of it. Never mind what you do, you can't get rid of it. It's there. This is the result of the neuroscientific process called entraining. And so you need to delete or expunge this internal voice, this introject, and there you need professional help. Having gotten rid of the internal voice, you now have the task of reconstituting your identity, who you used to be. And then you discover, I think, the most harrowing discoveries of all. You can never be the same again. There's no going back to the point of no return where you've entered the shared fantasy. It's a point of no return. There's no return. The only thing you can do is construct a new identity for yourself, acquire a new sense of self and who you are and what makes you, your beliefs, your values, your this or that. But it's going to be seriously contaminated and tainted by the experience you had. For example, if you used to be a trusting person, it's very likely gone for good. You will never be a trusting person. You may even, in all likelihood, develop what we call paranoid ideation. Be a bit suspicious, a bit,
I don't know about that.
Not a bad thing in today's world, but not who you used to be, usually.
Yeah.
If you, in your past, used to be outgoing and extroverted, and you may discover that you've turned into an introvert. If you were happy-go-lucky, cheerful, joyful, and so you may discover that you're very depressive. These features are not
I was for a bit, I think, while I was getting over it, but
I've
not
always
anymore.
been both of those things, though. I've always been. I'm an ambivert. I'm an ambivert, so I can lock myself in a bubble for months at a time. But when I'm out, I'm a social butterfly.
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. But actually, though, I used to be like that. But I am more of an introvert now. I can't be asked with people. I just can't be asked with, not all people, but I just can't be asked with just talking shit with people. Just shit.
Yeah, I'm a lot more introverted.
My
But
interpretation of shit
I can be a social butterfly in the right situation, though.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's my interpretation. Like, loads of people think that the stuff that I think is deep and meaningful is bullshit. So what I think is bullshit is probably something that someone else thinks is deep and meaningful. So, you know, it's just personal stuff, innit? Personal choice.
But the new you, there's a new normal, a new version of you. And regrettably, this narcissistic contagion, this infection that you have caught from the narcissist, has impacts which are lifelong, the same way any disease has impacts which are lifelong. It doesn't mean that ultimately you will not feel, fully functional and integrated in society and, relatively content. The prognosis is actually very good. If you are creative, if you take the initiative, you may even leverage your experience and, for example, help other people. Or write a movie script or whatever. This experience is an asset. If you can look at it as a liability, but you can look at it.
The Blue Tent Universe
is an asset. It all depends on your propensity. Do you always see the half full glass or the half empty glass? This is who you are. So I would say that the experience of the shared fantasy, exactly like obtaining money, becoming rich, amplifies who you are. We know that when you make a lot of money, you become a billionaire, it amplifies who you are. It doesn't change you. And similarly, when you've gone through this type of crisis or trauma, it tends to amplify who you are, and in many respects. And of course, it takes away the relational aspect. So, for example, I mentioned trust. Trust is not who you are. Trust is a relational aspect, like who you are in relation to other people. These aspects are damaged. But who you are, you can remold yourself so that your experience becomes an asset, and you can leverage it, and it makes you a better person, more rounded, more experienced, more sage.
Amen in it, Neva.
Exactly.
Amen to that, Sam. Amen to that, my friend.
Exactly.
What I will say, sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
You can carry it around and wear it like a wound, or you can use it as a tool to become stronger and more experienced, and just use it as a lesson. Like, you can choose everything that happens to you in life. You can choose: do you want to wear it as a scar and carry it around like a dead fucking horse, or are you gonna use it as a lesson to learn from? You can choose either.
Totally agree, and that's with everything, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I don't regret any of the bad things that happened to me in life, because they've all shaped me and they've all brought me to where I am now.
Yeah, I'd much rather be able to, I don't know, like regretting the things that you haven't done, regret the things that you haven't done rather than the things that you have done. It's like what's it? Yeah, my kid said to me, would you want to go back in time and live like again, or be a kid now, or something like that? And I was like,
no.
Or do it and know what you know now, or something like that. And I was like, not at all, because I wouldn't be me again. I wouldn't be me.
And that was like everything that happens to you is your path that leads you to where you are now. And as long as
I'm happy with who I am, I don't want. Yeah. I'm not like, oh no, I wish everything had gone differently. So
it's a journey. It's a journey. Every part of it is part of your journey.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be good. Like, the journey is going to be good and bad, and the bad things shape you as much as the good things. But they can shape you in a positive way. So you don't have to. Like, I don't understand people that I know some people just wear those bad things and then end up becoming their own trauma.
Yeah, and they choose to be offended as well, and they're the ones. those sorts of people. And I could be projecting now, but they seem to be very projection-based people.
Yeah.
Those sorts of people
Yeah,
you're talking about.
they're constant victims.
The levels of projection are unbelievable. So what were you going to say?
Yeah, they're like full-time victims, and I'm not saying that's it's not their fault. That's just some people don't have the emotional capacity to learn from things, and this some people just end up becoming more damaged and not able to process things as well. I think that because so many things happened to me at a very young age, that I became more emotionally mature very early, and because of what was going on at home back then. But I value that because it's helped me be a stronger person in the long run. Yeah, any of the bad things that happened to me, I wouldn't fucking change a thing.
Yeah, that's it. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
I'm giving now a seminar, a 3-day seminar in Scotland. So I think it's time to mention this the right time. I'm giving a 3-day seminar in Skopje, North Macedonia. The seminar is free, utterly free, no entrance charge or anything.
How cool would that be for me and you to get
And the seminar deals with what science has to say on, science as far as psychology is science, but what psychology, let's say, has to say on healing and recovery from narcissistic abuse. And I'm using the word science or psychology, the discipline of psychology, because most of the advice online by self-styled experts is, and I'm being very charitable, highly so I think.
Now, I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and one of the things they said in it was companionship without ulterior motives. And I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, especially the YouTube environment, well, that's the anti-e-begging community, isn't it? That's the whole point, having a community without ulterior motives. Ulterior motives is basically running every aspect of our lives now, and we are being encouraged to have ulterior motives in everything, especially in YouTube and all that stuff.
And I just don't.
Yeah,
I just don't.
It would be
Excuse me.
Academic and other, but reputable, well established.
Oh, I can hear my kid. I was talking in his sleep. I'm going to go and sort him out.
And that's what I try to do. I picked up all the literature and I created this 3-day seminar, which teaches mainly clinicians, but also everyone is welcome, victims of abuse or whoever. I would try to teach what a rigorous method of recovering and healing, because there is one, and I think it's. And I'm not in it to make money. Seminar is free. Everything I do is free. My videos are free. Absolutely everything I do is free. I never charge for seminars, lectures, ever.
I thought he was fucking something for a moment there, but thankfully he's not.
He's what?
He was talking about a seminar that he does, and I thought he was flogging something for a minute. But
no, he doesn't. No, that's awesome.
He gives out everything for free, which is it's commendable.
Oh yeah.
Narcissistic abuse is possibly the most horrible experience imaginable, because you came across a dark power whose main task was negating you, making you unexist. Not unalive, but unexist. So take away your existence. I don't think there's anything, not even divorce, maybe the death of a child, I don't know, but I think it's somewhere up there. That's why I coined the phrase narcissistic abuse, because I thought that it should be distinguished from all other types of abuse. All other types of abuse are goal-oriented. I want your money. I want to have sex with someone. They're goal-oriented. The abuse it could be sadistic. So I want to inflict pain on you, and I enjoy it. The abuse could be about control. But it's about something. It's focused. It's laser focused. Narcissistic abuse is all pervasive, permeates everything, leaves nothing untouched.
Yeah.
And it's about making you disappear.
Absolutely spot on. This is exactly how I would describe it. This person came into my life and tried to become me, tried to destroy me, tried to tear every little part of my life down. Did not fucking succeed though, but gave it a really, really, really good go. And
isn't that right, Joshing? Isn't that right? Hey, retro elbow.
Yeah, like literally tried to. It was almost like they wanted to just be me, destroy me, and then just tear every little part of my life down, from my friendships, all my friendships and relationships, and then me, myself, and who I was. But they had a really good go at it, and they almost succeeded for a brief time. But again, I'll say that what they failed to learn about me is that I'm a fucking survivor, and I just got back up again, and they failed.
Well, the reason they went for you was because you had that strong element of your own.
No, they went for me because I'm compassionate and loyal, and they could see that. And I also had a broken side of me as well.
Yeah, there is that, of course.
They saw that, but they didn't see the survivor part. They only saw the broken part, and that's where they fucking failed.
Yeah, because they've never been a survivor themselves. Otherwise, they won't be having to eat.
Exactly.
But I mean, for me, obviously, my situation was a lot milder than yours. And I just had like multiple people doing that. Multiple people wanting to be not only me, but evil as well. So you just had like this weird, I can hear footsteps upstairs. So do you want to talk a bit longer, or shall I let it play to the end while I go out them upstairs?
You can let it play. I'm just concerned if there might be an advert which none of us want to watch. So you could leave it on pause if you want. I don't know. Does anyone in the chat have anything to say? Yeah. Leave it on pause, and then I'll talk to chat. Does anyone in the chat have any questions? Like, I'm happy to talk about my experience, but I'm not an open book, quite honestly. The person I was with could have easily killed me on a few occasions, because you don't fuck with head injuries. But again, I'm not a victim, so and also it's in the past, so I don't feel any emotion talking about it. Yeah, what they've said here is really, really about, you know, them trying to take everything, and yeah, I really relate to everything that's been said in this video. It's been
good. What I would say is that I hope they do another video where they put it into the.
Yeah, because I thought they were going to talk about Everest, and they haven't.
I thought they were. That's it. But it's still cool to have them both on the thing.
No, but it's been an excellent video. I just thought they were going to talk about it.
But yeah, well, it's like what you were saying about how a little bit when we were right at the beginning, when I went off on my tangent about the Blue Tent universe. It was about sort of how you can go off and then other people can kind of encourage it. Because that's the thing about the mountain with this summit fever and the
so that's like more like to do with the psychology of group psychology as well. So how narcissism can affect group psychology. That's a whole different.
And you've got the whole male thing. You know, you've got that whole male thing of you know, they're up there. It's almost cult-like. You've got these real strong figures who were like off climbing a mountain, and it's like, are you going to do it? You know what I mean? There's all sorts of posturing going on there. It must get so complicated. I can hear every time I go up, it's quiet and he's asleep, and then I come downstairs and I can hear him going, meh. And I'll go back up again and check on him again, but he'll just be asleep again, nice and quiet. So I'll just go, oh, hello, darling, give him a hug, go back downstairs, he'll start up again.
So in the context of Everest, we're definitely talking about group psychology and how narcissistic behavior affects them, which is very different to how one might target an individual and then just try to destroy them. But it's would be interesting if they make another video that talks about that. Because yeah, the group psychology of narcissism is not something I've experienced. So that's an interesting aspect. No, I don't know what to say. The person has zero power. Yeah, they don't exist to me anymore. I don't know where they are on the planet. They don't exist to me anymore. So I don't have any connection with them at all. It was over 10 years ago now. It does stay with you though, those things, but I don't carry it like a wound.
Oh yeah, it's part of you though, isn't it? You can't deny it.
Yeah,
I'll just finish the
absolutely. Yeah, but again, it has affected me. It affected my brain chemistry, but I don't wear it like a wound at all. No. Let's get to the end of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to abuse you, and if you stick around, you're a good mother. But the second phase is to make you disappear.
Yes.
Leading to the valuation.
Yeah, exactly. But I refused, you see, so I knew this was coming, and I refused to do it because I'm a troll, and I'm like, no, man, I'm here. I'm not going. You don't have to be in a relationship or anything because it was all like fake anyway. You don't have to do any of that anymore. But I'm still your friend, and I'm still not going to turn on you, and all the rest of it. And he had to go further and further and further to discard until he actually couldn't. I couldn't deny it anymore. Well, I wasn't even denying it. I was completely aware of it. By that point, when he was I'd got over the worst part of it because it had gone on for so long, and he had to go so low, bringing Ricardo in at the level that he did, because his first levels of evaluation, I wasn't having it. I was like, no, I'm your mate. You can be horrible to me all you want. I still like you. I'm still your friend. And but not in a creepy way or anything. I was just like, yeah, I know you slagged me off and whatever. It's all right. And yeah, he had to go really far.
And so it's a reenactment in the demented mind of a narcissist, a reenactment of early childhood conflicts, which have nothing to do with you, and you're paying the price. And I do think that we need to consider narcissistic abuse as a separate sub-discipline in abuse studies, not to compare it to any other type of abuse. They don't come close.
I agree.
This AI tool will take your idea.
What about advert abuse?
YouTube is abusing with adverts.
So there we are.
That was really good. I was hoping they would talk more about Everest, but it was still extremely.
What's going on?
It was really interesting though, nonetheless.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I'm just going to remove this because there was one more little video which I'm going to show. It's only a short, and it's one that I made a long time ago. It's not a video I made, it's one that I recorded, a short that I recorded on something. And I think it's one that I've used on Mount Narcissist. But I thought it was telling, and it sort of brings it in. But I do hope they do another one, and I hope they do a bit about like the group psychology and like you're saying about, because there's so many layers of that, isn't there? There's the group psychology, the extreme scenario that they're
That's
in.
like when you're dealing with people that like bankers and politicians, people that have control over large groups of people. Like, I'm not going to talk about anybody specific, but we know who I'm talking about actually. But yeah, people that are in power, people that have a lot of responsibility, and they have.
Oh, you've gone quiet.
People
that you that's gone quiet, or is it me?
Don't know.
Have I done that?
I don't know.
I think you might. Have I done that? Can you hear me? Play with the balls shorts. I've got that one that I did a copy of. Leva, I can't hear you, I don't think. Can you guys hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you. But there shouldn't be any reason for that.
I can hear me on
what
the. I don't know what you've done.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Will someone tell me if you can hear me or not? Can you hear me? Anyone? All right, okay. I can't hear you though, Lima. And I don't know why that is, because I just clicked off that and then I went back on and then you weren't making any noise anymore.
Oh.
I tell you what, I'm going to leave StreamYard and come back in. Will that make a difference, you think?
Okay. Hello. Right. I'm going to head out after this as well, after this little video. So I think that we might be opening up the panel in a bit.
Hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, can you hear
Oh
me?
yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. That's so weird. StreamYard's so weird.
After this little video, I'm going to head out, but I don't know if you're still opening the panel, but I'm going to
It's
head
been
out.
quite a long one, so I'm not that bothered about doing a panel. Unless anyone's got anything that they want to share. Not you, Doshin, you're not allowed in.
Well, I'm going to head out after this one.
Yeah, it's very, very short, this.
Cool.
Very short. And it's here. It's at the end of a Mount Everest video.
She'll issue, and it'll always remain so. But as I say, those are the cold, hard facts of life at 8,000 metres. You know, you're in the death zone. Shit goes wrong. People die. It's a graveyard up there, and it's really difficult to be able to do anything about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think at the microcosm of the whole world, you know, what's changed on that mountain has changed with the rest of society, and Sured's observations are on the money. You know, there is a certain desensitization that's gone on. It's not limited to the people who climb on that mountain. It's the world. It's us as a whole.
She'll issue, and it'll always remain so.
Yes, I think it says a lot to me.
Just what he was saying about how it reflects the world.
Well, there's two very different viewpoints there. There's one guy who's like, it's just the cold hard facts. You're on there. You can't carry anyone down if they're dying. It's about breaking sharp.
Of course, there's a reality and there's a practicality to that, of course. But like
it's human nature to sort of horcrux yourself into these like dogmas that you make. It's like, oh, we make it easier now. We've got this now. This is the rule for this. I'll put my red hat on now, shall I? And now you tell me what I need to do. Okay, so when I'm on this mountain past this certain level, we don't have to be human anymore. It's not on a case by case basis.
No, it's just a general. We just step over the dead.
Yeah, these are because that man is the alpha, and he's got summit fever, so we've all got to have summit fever. And I'm just generalizing, but that's how this fucking bullshit goes, isn't it? And like then the other guy didn't lose his humanity on the mountain, in my opinion, and that's why I put evolution on there, because as we go into a world which is way less human, way more suited to other people's things and not for everybody, you know, it's to do with money and very non-human concepts. As we move more into that, do we have to evolve to become more like that and stepping over the ones who are dying to just exist in life? And is that
I think in that way it's really important that we maintain
our humanity.
And that is why because otherwise we just become like the emotionless machines.
Exactly, and that is why I was always into the anti-e-begging so big, because it's the same thing. It's the same level of emotionless machines. It's the same everyone churning out the same content, so it fits in with a certain fucking mold, so they can get whatever it is. That's what they want for creation. That's what they want for art.
I won't be a slave to the algorithm.
Pardon?
That's why I won't be a slave to the algorithm, because I simply like fuck the algorithm. I don't care.
Exactly. Right then. Well, on that note, shall we?
Yeah. Hello. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Take care.
Thank you so much for coming, everybody, and thank you, Lima, very much for coming for this very special Mount Narcissist.
No worries.
They didn't really do much about Mount Everest, but hopefully they'll do another one.
We'll come back for another one.
But it was a fucking awesome video, and we will watch the one where the mountain man talked to the Jungian guy. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
All right then. See you later. I saw that Luke was streaming, so I might pop over and see Luke. All right then. Bye everyone. Big love.